Good afternoon and welcome along to the final instalment this weekend in the latest round of Sprint Super6 matches, sponsored by FOSROC. You'll see we are at the Greenyards for the Southern Knights match with the Ayrshire Bulls. The Bulls travelling from the west, looking to get another victory under their belts to climb the table, while Southern Knights look to arrest a disappointing start to the campaign, and they'll be acutely aware of the success of Boroughmuir Bears last night and of course Watsonians a little bit earlier on this afternoon as they are playing catch up. I'm delighted to say that alongside me for commentary of this final match this weekend is Dale Clancy. And Dale, you've already been watching an enthralling encounter, the Edinburgh Derby, ending in a win for Watsonians over Heriots. But coming into this particular fixture, the Ayrshire Bulls will know that Southern Knights at this stage will be desperately looking for something, and a bright start is what we expect to see from the home team.
Yeah, I think you've nailed it there. I think it is going to be desperate for the Southern Knights. They need to get themselves some momentum and some confidence because they are at the foot of the table, and this is a place where they're used to success. Melrose is a cornerstone of Scottish rugby. It's a successful club, and these two teams in different guises of they've locked horns for decades and been very successful and competed for the best prizes on offer. And Southern Knights, that won't pass them by because they'll be acutely aware that they need to put in a performance against the Ayrshire Bulls because they are a formidable outfit, and they'll be coming down here to try and rub more salt into the Southern Knights' wounds.
And we've got a great shot there of the very picturesque commentary box and media box at the Greenyards as well. Those yellow windows, many of them open, as a number of media are in attendance for this final match in the FOSROC Super6 campaign for this weekend. We'll have a look at the respective teams in just a second, but both sides just mixing up the pack a little bit. The Southern Knights, though, would you say that having looked at their performances and the results the last couple of weeks since the start of the campaign, it's clear because they've had maybe more upheaval than the other sides have since the campaign ended back in October and the sprint series started. There's been a lot of comings and goings. Is that still ironing out, and there's still a lot of creases to iron out, so to speak?
Definitely. I think there's a lot to figure out for the Southern Knights. So they've got a player, Cam Jones, who's returning to familiar surroundings. He's now playing for the Bulls. He has been playing for the Southern Knights before, but there's a lot of new faces at the Knights. They need to fit in, they need to gel. They're going to take longer to form these partnerships than some of the other teams do. You can see the different contrasting forms of likes of Watsonians. They've benefited because the partnerships are already there, and they can welcome in some players likes of Moody and obviously Baggett as well. These players can go up there, Sean Gunn, they can go to Myerside and try and fit in and complement what was already there. So the Southern Knights, they've had a tough start, but it's not going to get any easier.
Yeah, the selections then this afternoon, it will be interesting to see how the pairings work out during the course of the 80 minutes. We've got a glimpse of the Eildons and of a fairly watercolour grey sky. There's a little bit of breeze around the Greenyards, but let's take a look then at the teams today. Of course, the Ayrshire Bulls making the journey through from Alloway up against a Southern Knights team that have a bit of youth and experience, the mix in their pack, and of course they've got slightly new look halfback partnership pairing in Murray Redpath, who we featured in one of our half-time slots a few weeks ago, alongside Nathan Chamberlain, who's played 11 times for Edinburgh and has 47 professional points to his name. Of course, in the front row there is little in the way of change. Rory Knott is partnering a debutant in the form of Thomas Brown in the second row. Sam Derrick makes his debut after returning from a fairly lengthy injury period. He's coming in the back row at blindside, and Rudy Brown will move to the number 8 position. So you look at that, and there's a fair bit of excitement there. You look at Patrick Anderson, he can be a very explosive character and winger, and he's had a bit of experience with the Edinburgh professional side, a bit of experience at Sevens level as well. You perhaps look at him or Robbie Chalmers to be the architect of something and benefit from the likes of the creativity of Redpath and Chamberlain. Yeah,
I like the balance. Like Redpath and Chamberlain are two very good halfbacks, and I think that combination is starting to work for the Southern Knights. Cam Scott at 12, he showed up very well in the first game of the season that the Southern Knights had. It was a heavy defeat to Heriots, but he showed up very well. The thing that I'm looking forward to is the likes of Sam Derrick and Thomas Brown. They've been playing Premiership and National 1 rugby for Selkirk and also Melrose. So, you know, the introduction to them, somebody has to put their hand up and say, I want to be counted as one of your mainstay players, and it's an opportunity for these two young guys to do that. And again, a lot of experience on the bench. Russell Anderson to come off in the excitement of Kieran Clark.
The two I was just going to mention as well, of course, we did witness Kieran Clark at the Sevens, and Russell Anderson, plenty of experience there. For Ayrshire Bulls, they can welcome back some experienced heads as well for this fixture this afternoon. You see that Robert Beattie is in at 13 this afternoon, so he's outside centre. Jamie Shedden, now there's a lot of excitement around this young winger. I mean, he's making his debut on the right hand side. Rory Jackson moves forward into the second row from the back row, and Tim Brown, who very much impressed earlier in the season against Boroughmuir, he will make his first start at open side flanker. Rodri Tanner also returns to action this weekend after shaking off a foot injury which really plagued his pre-season. So Pete Horn again just juggling the pack a little bit, as he can do with a fairly extensive squad. And Ed Bloodworth back in the second row. Last time I watched him, he was in the back row, so plenty of options there for the Ayrshire men. Yeah,
but looking at the team sheet, the one name that I was looking at was Jamie Shedden. I watched him at Riverside Park when he was playing for Mar against Jed Forest. He scored 4 tries. The 4 tries he scored, most of them were all his own work, deep inside his own half. He is a powerful big winger. He can play 13 as well, so you'll see them interchange a little bit in terms of the welcoming back Robert Beattie, but Jamie Shedden is equally as comfortable in those outside spaces. But also Cam Jones returning to the Greenyards at scrum half, and a familiar name at the Greenyards of Townsend at 10, so he'll be wanting to put up a performance, because this is a name which is synonymous with Melrose Rugby Club, and Christian Townsend, the son of Gregor, will be looking to pull the strings at standoff. So it's an interesting battle, but Ayrshire Bulls look really, really strong.
And on the bench there, Lanack and Minogue, 23 and 24, are going to be crucial players, you'd imagine, at the tail end of the match, as they come on and perhaps replace the likes of Jones and Townsend. So it's intriguingly poised then for this fixture between Ayrshire Bulls, who's occupying place in mid-table, against Southern Knights, who really want to get themselves off and running this afternoon. We mentioned the conditions, of course. They've got the artificial pitch there, which makes the playing surface perfect condition. The sky looks as if there might be 1 or 2 rain clouds beginning to blow through, but I'm not anticipating any rain as such. Spectators still making their way into the main stand at the Greenyards, and at this stage in the competition, the Southern Knights will know that little bit more about each other. They've had opportunities in games. They've perhaps not taken as many opportunities by the scruff of the neck to close out matches when they've had the opportunities to do so. And we mentioned right at the very start of the commentary, Dale, that the importance of a bright start for them, because when you're on a winless streak, the last thing you want to do at home is to concede early.
Yeah, definitely. You know, it's a sprint series, and I think the Southern Knights have perhaps been sprinting with their laces tied together, and Ayrshire Bulls are a team that are certainly looking to try and be amongst the medals, and it's something that the Southern Knights need to do. They'll be up for this. There's a lot of bad blood between these two teams in terms of the history. They have been both trying to clamber at the top table of Scottish rugby for a long time, and Ayrshire Bulls, it will not be lost on them, but Southern Knights, they'll be looking to try and make home advantage count and try and really get out of that rut to give them a little bit momentum going forward into the next few games.
Yeah, of course, Ayrshire Bulls up against Melrose. Prior to the structure and the introduction of the FOSROC Super6 competition, there's been many humdingers of matches. I remember a very, very late postponement close to a Christmas time, when I think Melrose were on a 12 or 13 match unbeaten run, and when the fixture was rearranged, it ended in a win for Ayrshire Bulls as the Southern Knights take to the field. The first man on the park this afternoon was Blair McPherson, and he's a streetwise character in that back row for Ayrshire Bulls. And if it becomes an arm wrestling contest, he'll love nothing more. But that's not being disrespectful to his qualities as a player, because he is a fine back row forward.
Yeah, good skills. Nathan Chamberlain is going to get play underway with the referee this afternoon, Finlay Brown, and you know, you say that Blair McPherson, streetwise, Finlay Brown will have to be alert to make sure that he keeps him in check, but he is a very skillful ball player. He's a big number 8, but he'll have a big say on this fixture.
Yeah, the man in our picture is Nathan Chamberlain, the 22-year-old, as we mentioned, 47 professional points in 11 appearances for Edinburgh, and he's the player that gets this match underway. And it's a quick clearance from inside the 22 as the Ayrshire Bulls look to play the ball downfield. It's very much black versus white, with the Bulls in the slightly unfamiliar all white with the pink trims. Southern Knights have tended to opt for the all black with the big broad white numbers on their jerseys. And the first throw in will go the way of the Southern Knights, and Fraser Rennick, their skipper, gets the instructions from the front row forward, the loose head Grant Shields, one of the vice captains, and this an early indication of who may well come out on top. Well, that was a sharp bit of play there down towards the scrum half, Murray Redpath. You can see Ayrshire Bulls with a high defensive line. Ball goes loose. Redpath's able to scoop the ball up once again as the Knights will look to get hands on the ball in this opening minute. Back it goes, played downfield of Grieve at 15 and Chamberlain at 10. As the Ayrshire Bulls just a little sloppy with the hands there, Dale. And that opportunity coming the way of Liam McNamara. Maybe took his eyes off it slightly, can see a rather rueful expression on his face, and this presents the Knights with an attacking opportunity early on in the tie. Yeah,
very mature from the Southern Knights. They got the ball, they secured it, they passed deep into the pocket to Chamberlain, and he managed just to get some field territory. It was well gathered by Shedden, but when he's tried to spill that ball in field, I think McNamara, he's perhaps just taken his eye off the ball slightly, and he's knocked on, which gives a great field position here for the Southern Knights, but they've got a big net gain in terms of territory from that kick, and a good chance here from the scrum.
So just outside the 22, you can see just a little glimpse of the 22 in the very top right hand corner of your picture as Redpath then feeds the ball from his number 8. That just ricocheting off there of Billy Wara. Not knocked forward signals the referee. Play allowed to continue as Redpath again mops up. Chamberlain has to scamper after that loose ball. Eventually gets there, but is crowded round by Ayrshire Bulls players who've adjudged to have knocked the ball on in their desperation to scoop the ball up. And the Southern Knights have been disappointed. They were forced back very quickly after that put in.
Yeah, you can see here the ball's not secure enough. The scrum's coming round, and Billy Wara initially gets quite flat but does well to get the ball back. When the Southern Knights eventually get the ball, you feel that they can then start to go through the motions, but the pass from Rennick just goes in between all the runners, all the players there, and it then becomes a little bit of a juggling match. And just when you've got rid of one error, when Billy Wara almost knocked the ball on, you then want to settle it. He almost needs a runner coming round the corner, just set the platform in midfield and then look to go again, because they didn't concede a lot of territory there.
Set.
Rudy Brown, the starting number 8 for the Southern Knights. We mentioned his opposite number, Blair McPherson. It's at the feet then of Rudy Brown. Redpath is after it. Again, the Southern Knights looking for a platform. There's the halfway line, looking to build once again some determination on the face of Grant Shields, loose head propped. Redpath again has a little look towards that right hand side. Pop pass on there towards Rennick, who's trying to wrestle away from the attentions. A good spin and turn there from Wallace Nelson, open side flanker, gaining some good ground inside the Ayrshire Bulls half of the field. Chamberlain was almost wrapped in a tackle there by his opposite number, Christian Townsend. It's back with Redpath, and down this left hand side, Southern Knights looking to try and make some ground. Redpath will play it back in field as once more Grant Shields tries to make some ground on that 10 metre line. Back it will come to Chamberlain on halfway. Southern Knights opting for a little crossfield grubber. Wara coming up. That's good football though, played by the Ayrshire Bulls. Just a little bit too much on that kick there from McNamara, but his intent was good. Wara under a little bit of pressure, he's able to gather close towards that touchline, and suddenly they find themselves back between their own 10 and 22, having been in the opposition half in a similar section of pitch in the Ayrshire Bulls side of the field, as it's now going to be Redpath's first box kick of the tie, and that's a simple touch finder, which, well, looking at where the assistant referee has raised the flag, that has gone out in the full, so that will disappoint the scrum half, because he was looking for a bit of distance but to ensure that the ball would go out of play there, but it's straight out the throw in now for Ayrshire Bulls. We'll get Clancy's thoughts on that in just a second as Cam Jones is able to feed the ball on. The on-rushing forwards now driving Southern Knights up towards the edge of the 22. They'll look at Jones to recycle ball on towards the fullback McNamara. McNamara still has it, dances his way into the 22. Nice one-handed offload but not quite collected properly, and Billy Wara is able to spin round inside his own 22 and clear downfield. But going back to that box kick from Redpath, got it horribly wrong, and he's put his side under a little bit of pressure after the Southern Knights have been sort of tickling the edges of the Ayrshire Bulls 22.
I think both teams playing with a lot of tempo in defence. Ayrshire Bulls really getting off the line and putting a bit of pressure on the Southern Knights, but you can see when Southern Knights are trying to force it, they're trying to force that extra pass or that extra tip on. It is becoming, the ball's going to ground, it does get a bit scrappy, and the game's starting to open up.
Drive on here for the Ayrshire Bulls now. Alex Maguire, the hooker, ball tucked under his arm, a secondary drive on after it was slowed up, and Maguire still has it, and he's caught in a tackle there by Fraser Rennick, 2 metres short of the line. They can now recycle ball. They find the open side flanker Tim Brown in a little bit of space, recycled again by the scrum half Cam Jones, who's at walking pace. Jones goes in once again, has a look at what options are to his right hand side, and the options are powerful forwards that are able to escape the attentions of the Southern Knights defence. And over for a try. 6 minutes gone, Dale, and the Ayrshire Bulls, with their first real foray into Southern Knights 22 territory, come away with at least 5 points.
Yeah, it was great work there from the Ayrshire Bulls. It was relentless. It was, they just kept their composure, managed to get towards that line and eventually squeeze their way over. But you can see when the Knights had the ball in hand, they have to work really, really hard to make any sort of territory. And in defence, the Ayrshire Bulls make the Southern Knights work equally as hard to try and keep them at bay, because just simple rugby, tipping the ball on, and you can see the big number 6 there, Ryan Sweeney, who's from the Glasgow Hawks club, just gets himself over the line. And the physicality of the Ayrshire Bulls is just something at the moment the Southern Knights are going to find it very, very difficult to live with. But it's been a relentless start, both teams playing with a lot of tempo and a lot of pace.
Yeah, that's one of the aspects that I think has changed a lot in the last couple of years, since these sides, or some of these players anyway, played for many of these sides in the old Premiership. I think that they're much more physical as individual units of players. And that's really beginning to show as we're now approaching the 3rd season of this competition. Townsend then will look to add the extras, no problems at all. A straightforward kick, so a very good outcome from an Ayrshire Bulls point of view. The first real foray into that Southern Knights 22, and they come away with 7 points.
Yeah, I think the Ayrshire Bulls just look a little bit more familiar with each other than the Southern Knights do. And as I said before, the new partnerships and the new combinations are going to take a bit of time to gel for the Southern Knights, and just some players just not being in the right areas and some mistakes coming in. But Ayrshire Bulls, just from the kickoff, they're managing just to clear their lines, get downfield, and I think the Southern Knights just need to then settle now. They need to get the ball, get it back on their side, and try and get through the phases. Yeah,
Bruce Ruthven will be looking for a bit more from his side, what they showed in the opening 2 or 3 minutes of the contest, as they will have a line out just a fraction inside Ayrshire Bulls territory. Fraser Rennick will throw the ball in. He's got the calls there from Grant Shields. Rennick then looking at the movement in the line. It's back now with Rennick as it's palmed down in the direction of the hooker, who's 5 metres in from touch, close towards halfway. Southern Knights then recycling ball. Redpath watches the clutch of forwards in front of them who tumble to the ground. Rudy Brown is looking to offload. It's picked up there by Redpath, opts for the grubber kick, chases on there, led there by Sam Derrick. Recycled ball now, and the Ayrshire Bulls are able to skip away from tackles. Great work there from Jamie Shedden. That's exactly what Pete Horn would be looking for from the likes of Shedden now, as they open it up. The box kick there from Tom Jordan, and more a cross-field kick. Not quite a grubber, not quite a box, but it's opened up some space down the Ayrshire Bulls' right-hand side, but a cross-covering of the Southern Knights' defence. Redpath was mopping up there. The advantage coming the way though of Ayrshire Bulls, as Southern Knights have coughed up possession inside the 22 once more. Jones, the scrum half, is able to offload towards Townsend, and Townsend with the simplest of tasks. underneath the post to touch down. 2 tries in the space of 2.5 minutes, and Southern Knights, you have to say, are guilty of being architects of their own downfall there.
Exactly. I think here when a great try in the end from Townsend, stepping off his right foot and just wrong foot in the defence and going in between the gap. But that comes back to, it was actually a good kick from Redpath initially, but Shedden done great work from his own half to get out of danger. But then when the ball came back on a Southern Knights side, they try and just set the ball up and get the exit, and it was a knock on deep inside their own 22. So it's open day for Ayrshire Bulls, and they get a free roll of the dice, and that's a great score there from Christian Townsend. Great footwork, but good vision from a fly half.
And Townsend 1-on-1 there with Fraser Rennick, and Rennick was almost caught in 2 minds as to how he was going to try and close down the fly half, who's converted his own try. 14 points to 0 then. Ayrshire Bulls, well, they've got off the bus, they're onto the park, and they're off and running. In 10 minutes they've managed to notch up 14 points without reply, and this already is becoming quite a big ask and a big task for the Southern Knights.
Yeah, what we've seen before in the previous game, you can have a big deficit to try and overturn. The game's never away from you. Watsonians looked poor in the first 20-30 minutes, and it looked like it was Heriot's game, and all of a sudden we end up with the humdinger that we did at Megatland earlier on. So the Southern Knights do need to steady the ship. They need to play rugby in the right areas, but at the moment they are playing straight into the Bulls' hands.
Jones with the box kick gathered there by Shedden, again showing some confidence, putting Billy Watt under a bit of pressure. Back with Chamberlain, this time the grubber kick from Cameron Scott. Bit of length on that, put a bit more power on it than perhaps I was expecting, but it's been returned there with a little bit of interest from the Ayrshire Bulls. That takes play back towards halfway, just over 11 minutes gone. 14 points to 0 to the visiting side.
That's not a bad return for the Southern Knights, because they kick downfield and they force Ayrshire Bulls to give them the ball back, as opposed to these open 50-50 kicks that they're looking to try and make it a foot race, because the Ayrshire Bulls they're very sharp, they're very quick, they're very alert behind the pack. So it's not a bad return. It allows the Southern Knights to have the ball again, try and prod and probe into the right areas of the Ayrshire Bulls half.
Rennick's throw-in, won by Tom Brown in the air, recycled as the Southern Knights again looking to try and gain some ground up towards halfway. A challenge coming in, though. Ayrshire Bulls are penalised, and I think the player down was Wallace Nelson. Is back to his feet, so Chamberlain will look to try and direct this kick downfield as we see the line out again.
Yeah, it was a good carry there from Nelson. He's had a bright start. Chamberlain just tries to give him the ball right on the line, but McPherson, he did say he was a wiry character. He comes in there with the shoulder and just riding a little bit too high there. But we go back to the fact that if the Southern Knights can play in the right areas, they can allow themselves these opportunities. So that penalty, from some smart tactical kick and play from Chamberlain, which we'll see all day, allows them the chance to play rugby in the right areas from that penalty.
Time's up,
a little stoppage in play as a couple of Southern Knights players receiving a little bit of treatment. I think Nathan Chamberlain is also looking to get one of the backroom staff looking for a water bottle, I think, as the carriers are on the park just now. But this will be an important stoppage, I suppose, for the Southern Knights to try and regroup here, given that their field position and this chance that they have to try and work a position to get back in the tie. 14-0 down at this stage. Yeah,
but we've seen Southern Knights teams in the past. They were beaten finalists. They're not a team who don't know how to play rugby. They just need to find the right recipe at the moment, and they'll be hoping that man there, Wallace Nelson, stays on the pitch, which I think from that high shot, it's almost like he's maybe just taking a shot on the jaw. They'll be hoping he can see it through, because he's offered himself up early on to carry ball, and they're going to need that. They're going to need somebody to try and really test this Ayrshire Bulls defence. But good field position again for the Southern Knights.
Rennick's throw, one again in the air by Thomas Brown, the lock forward. Rennick again tries to snaffle possession of the ball, runs into Maguire there. Maguire tries to topple him across, and Maguire, you could see there's a little coming together of Rennick and Maguire and a few other players. It's already become somewhat heated, and this is
that's a mismatch.
Well, it's a mismatch, but I tell you, it's an illustration of how strong the material is in these jerseys, because the players were ripping away at one another. There's the Rennick throw, and one in the air by Brown, and you could see that the intent again was to bring the likes of Rennick in, but also Wallace Nelson, and I think think Nelson is aggrieved that Maguire got him around the neck as he was going to ground there, but he was getting close towards the touchline.
Yeah, definitely. I think it was riding high, and I think the 2 second rows, they need to have a word with themselves, because they picked on the smallest guy in the park there on Patrick Anderson. But again, that just shows the importance of Nelson. It'll be interesting to see what they say.
The tackle is complete and he's dragged into touch. We don't then need 30 players running in here for an all-in. So what we're going to restart with is a penalty for no clear release there on the 5. Have a word, and that's ends now, okay? Thank you. Cheers. Yeah.
Early stages, fairly clear from the match referee Finlay Brown, what he's looking for from the respective captains as they head back to speak to their players. Southern Knights then, Dale, will have another opportunity here, 14-0 down but close to the 22.
Exactly, and that's what we were saying about before, as Chamberlain just stabs it further downfield. As you know, with smart tactical kicking, you can allow the opposition to make the mistakes to put you in good field position, and that's exactly what's happened here. They've had 2 penalties. That's all. The only reason they're starting here is because they've had 2 penalties from Ayrshire Bulls ill-discipline, which gives them a chance here to try and really be cohesive at them all.
Yeah, and ultimately they'll want to try and get an end result as they go. Bit of an overthrow there. Brown was trying to dislodge the ball as it's back now. Southern Knights, good carry here from Sam Derrick. It's a little lateral. They want to try and straighten up. It's planted back towards Redpath. Rennick just seemed to ricochet off the palms of the hands and the knees. The referee had played a bit of advantage there, but you could see Sam Derrick was just trying to find a chink in that Ayrshire Bulls defence as he went lateral, and then he straightens up but runs into a lock forward in the form of Ed Bloodworth, and the back row forward and Ryan Sweeney, who's already scored the try. And there you can see the desperation of Fraser Rennick, the Southern Knights captain, trying to continue that run, but the ball just ricocheting off palms and knees. But the advantage was played at that time, so he'll come back for the penalty still inside the 22. 15 minutes on the clock. Ayrshire Bulls 14-0 in front. Early tries there. Christian Townsend converting his own try after Ryan Sweeney had scored 3 minutes earlier. Redpath will feed the ball into this scrum. Cam Jones alongside. Redpath, of course, the son of Brian Redpath, as it's just by the feet of the Southern Knights number 8, Rudy Brown. Referee again has whistled. He's becoming a more central figure in the contest just at the moment, Finlay Brown.
There, the pressure that comes on from Ayrshire Bulls, as soon as that ball's in, you'll see it leaves Redpath's hand. They drop that. They just put the pedal down and they just go absolutely straight through the Southern Knights pack. And it's almost a free swing set piece for Ayrshire Bulls, because they know unless Southern Knights can get the ball out the tunnel really, really quickly, they've got the upper hand. But it's again another unforced error in this game as they don't make touch.
Yeah, the Southern Knights are able to capitalise as they had players just on the wing. It's back now with Rennick receiving the pass from Redpath. So that ball not finding touch, and the Southern Knights again have it just short of halfway. Back through the hands of Chamberlain. Long look pass there. Wara was trying to escape, but again Wara was slowed up almost immediately. I think that the pass just a fraction forward.
It'll be interesting to see that again from open play. I thought it looked okay, but Chamberlain just noticing there's a ball in behind here. It was Cam Scott who looked to try and float the ball, and I think I might be completely wrong here, because it has, you can see it just drifts in front. He's just passed it maybe a metre and so in front, but it's a hard skill to do, to be able to pass that accurately on the hoof when you've got a lot of pressure there. But you know, if that's the ball, which we've seen a lot in Super 6 so far this season, the defences do get tight and they want to try and stretch it and give it to the winger as quick as possible, and it just drifts forward on that occasion.
Yeah, bypassing 3 players. Unfortunate there from Cam Scott that didn't come off from a Southern Knights point of view, as they're looking to get themselves back into this contest. Trailing by 14 points to 0. Almost the first quarter has come and gone. Be a Cam Jones put in to this Ayrshire Bulls scrum. Townsend and Sweeney with the tries. Townsend with both conversions, and the 14 points amassed inside the opening 11.5 minutes of the tie. Jones then will feed the ball in just on the edge of halfway. Redpath alongside him, trying to make a nuisance of himself, controlled there by Blair McPherson. He's able to release his scrum half, and now some pace being injected by Tom Jordan up towards halfway. McPherson again as they carry beyond the halfway line and look at reinforcements coming in once more. McNamara over the ball, and it's McNamara that finds the tight head prop there, Calvin Henderson. Henderson goes to ground, makes the ball available. Back it will go once more. They're working it through the hands with some intelligence there. Decent offload as well from Maguire as he was going to deck. Wrestling away was Tom Jordan. Jordan still has it. Jordan going for the line, and that's a wonderful try there from Jordan. I think he's managed to get a clean grounding of the ball, because it did shoot away from him as he was going down to touch the ball down over the line. But the inside centre there, a powerful piece of running. Again, he escaped the attentions initially of Wallace Nelson, accelerating into that 22, and away he goes. And yeah, the ball is spilled, but I think it's after a clean grounding despite the best efforts there of Chamberlain.
Yeah, Chamberlain trying to grab onto him, and as well Grieve at fullback just gets palmed as well, and you know, it's almost like pest control, because it was fly swatting all the way through that Southern Knights defensive line. But powerful running from Tom Jordan, and it does show how dangerous Ayrshire Bulls are, because there was nothing on there at all, and he's just thought, I'm going to have a go. I'm trying to set it up as close to the line as possible, or as far up this pitch as possible. And he's been able to just work some space, get some room, and he's been able to palm off the fullback and go into the corner. Great work from the inside centre. And
two very good drives as well initially, a little bit earlier on in the move from Blair McPherson. An important role played as well from McNamara, because he obviously covered in the space. Cam Jones wasn't there to go in and recycle possession of the ball. McNamara took on that role, and within 30 seconds Ayrshire Bulls had landed their third try of this match, of this first half. We're approaching 20-minute mark, and we're watching Christian Townsend look to make it 3 conversions from 3, as the Southern Knights are trailing by 19 points to 0. The Bulls then to take a 21-0 lead. That's swinging round just across the face of the posts. So we have made that 20-minute mark, and the Ayrshire Bulls leading by 19 points to 0. And it's been a very productive opening quarter for the visiting side from Alloway.
Yeah, and but I think for most of it, the Southern Knights have had the ball at hand. You know, I think if I don't know how long the ball's been in play, but for maybe 70% of the time, Southern Knights have had the ball, and Ayrshire Bulls have been feeding off of Southern Knights' mistakes. And you see there, just easy breaking the first tackle. So defensively, the Southern Knights need to work a lot harder to try and stop the man at source.
Yeah, Beattie at outside centre was able to carry that a good few metres outside of the 22. The box kick then from Jones, bit of height on that. Juarez underneath it. It seemed to just evade the Southern Knights right winger as it's picked up this time by the lock forward Ed Bloodworth, taking the ball into the contact situation. Back quickly through the hands, Beattie with the touch out towards the right hand side. Jones has it once more, on then towards Townsend, who's been a central figure. Down the right hand side they go, and suddenly a bit of pace on here as McNamara was trying to escape the attentions of the Southern Knights defence. Back they will come, the Knights, but the referee has spotted a player sprawled out on the far touchline here. I think it is Liam McNamara that's picked up a bit of a knock, who was galloping at a fair pace down that right hand side. And again, the Ayrshire Bulls have a confidence about them when they get a little bit of space. There's a greater assurance in their passing and their variation of the game, and they're certainly asking questions of this Southern Knights attack and defence. But going right back to that restart kick there, Dale, we were talking about that. It was very easy for Beattie to make ground beyond the 22.
Yeah, I think, and I think that is what's releasing these spaces. That's what's starting these spaces, because if defensively you're not feeling too confident, if things aren't going well for you, you start to creep in a little bit, because you know that maybe your first up tackling's not doing too well, so you need to double up on men. And then that means if you're doubling up on men, if they get the tip on in 2 tackles, you've lost 4 men. That's when the spaces start to come, because the outside defenders need to creep in. And then you could see there that McNamara had oodles of space on the stand side, was able to try and interplay, but just not being able to find the runner there. He did have Cam Jones in support, but just not able to find the supporting runners there, and he got clattered for his efforts as well. But thankfully he's back on his feet now.
Yeah, McNamara back on his feet, back in position, and it's Southern Knights in possession just now. Murray Redpath feeding the ball into the scrum. Another illustration of the power of the Ayrshire Bulls scrum, as Knights then look to mop up, as Sam Derrick was in good position to do just that. Tackles coming in, Bulls once again just trying to harry and hassle the Southern Knights just outside of their own 22.
Knock on.
And Ayrshire Bulls having knocked on just on their right hand side, close towards the 22. Play will resume then on the Southern Knights left. 22 minutes of the first half gone. And the Knights will want something quickly, something to build on, because with 22 minutes on the clock, as you mentioned, the territory has been quite sizable in terms of their overall percentage, but what they've been able to do with it will very much disappoint the Southern Knights coaching staff.
I definitely will, because they've been bullied. I think that's probably the only term that you can put towards this, because they've been out-muscled up front in the scrum. Watch here, because you're going to have Murray Redpath put the ball into the scrum, and unless this ball comes out quickly, Ayr will put a bit of pressure on up front to try and squeeze the penalty.
Redpath then, once again it's picked up by Brown, on towards Redpath. Chamberlain tries to feed the ball through the midfield now. There's a little bit of pace down this right hand side, good acceleration. Wara taking the ball then from Patrick Anderson, who made good ground up towards halfway. Redpath recycles again, on towards the number 8, Rudy Brown. Brown then with some purpose. Tackled there by Blair McPherson, who's rolling on the deck. Chamberlain with that little offload on halfway, but the on-rushing defensive cover led there by Calvin Henderson, the tight head dropped. Chamberlain again, almost a show and go from the fly half, as he opted perhaps for a pass, but there was nobody really on his left hand side initially. Takes the ball into contact. Redpath mops up. Rennick with that little offload. Southern Knights players bundled to the ground as Redpath again just has a longer look at what's available on his right hand side. They'll play the ball forward downfield, right footed. Ayrshire Bulls 2 men back inside their 22. Got a bit of time and space to run into. Nice little goose step again. Wara, a bit unsure, just tracks back to close the door on any Ayrshire Bull attack down their left hand side. Bulls recycling once more with Jones at scrum half, goes in once more, mops up. That was taken there by Townsend just above head height. Crossfield kick. That should be gathered at pace and is, and taken on well there by Chamberlain. Chamberlain still has it. Great run there from Chamberlain. Nice little offload now towards the blind side flanker, and it's Sam Derrick at a very important stage in the game who scores the Southern Knights opening points of the tie. 24 and a half minutes of the first half gone. This was all about the running initially of Chamberlain and the support lines from two Southern Knights players. Ultimately the ball went to Derrick, and he had only one thing in his mind.
Great interplay back inside there from Chamberlain, finds Scott at inside centre, and then Sam Derrick, immensely impressed with him throughout the amateur game with Melrose in National 1. But that comes all the way back to that scrum. The scrum was secure, they got the ball out, it allowed them to get Patrick Anderson into some space, and all of a sudden they've got a bit of territory, they're behind the defensive line. Ayr have to work back down the field, and they've got to then set their shop up again, and I feel that's maybe came from a more solid effort up front. It allowed them the platform to then, error against the ropes. They're trying to kick clear, and that man there that's going to take the kick, Chamberlain, sparked them back into life.
I was gathering up the Townsend kick downfield and being able to come onto the ball at pace that really set up that attacking opportunity. Chamberlain will want to add the extras from the tee, which he does, no problems at all then. 19 points to 7 changes the complexion of the game somewhat, but the Knights will want another score before half time. They've just under 15 minutes until the interval, and that is just a little bit of a wake up call for an Ayrshire Bulls side who were 3 tries to the good at that stage in the contest. But 19-7 is now the score line. That's rather sparse crowd inside the main stand this afternoon at the Greenyards, but a fair few spectators lining various sections of the artificial pitch as the restart kick is gathered once more. Robbie Beattie trying to slow up the Southern Knights attack just outside of the 22. Redpath again mops up. There's a look at ball carriers to his right hand side, and Rennick again, the captain, the willing carrier. Redpath again goes in. There's a little look. He's going to control it with the boots and the studs and deliver a box kick with a bit of height and distance on that. Carries the 10-metre line. Bulls of players underneath it, and again can weigh up options as they come forward now. A bit of pace shown there by Alex Maguire, the hooker, through the hands of the midfield now. Nice little grubber kick down towards the left hand side, and the chase is now on as you could see Tom Jordan, who's already scored a try in this first half, was racing after that one. Knew that he was going to have to play a little bit of football because it would be very awkward at that speed to be able to pick up the ball off the deck as it was tracking towards the touchline. And with Billy Wara coming across, he tried to carry it left-footed down towards the try line there, but it went into touch, and Fraser Rennick will throw the ball in. Here's the thoughts of Dale Clancy.
Yeah, it's good play there from Ayrshire Bulls behind the scrum. Just noticed that there was the defensive line from the Southern Knights was getting a little bit flat, so they can kick in behind, and the bounce of that ball, if that sits up a little bit nicer, then Tom Jordan could have been in closer towards that 22. But I'll tell you what, Southern Knights will not be wanting to lose that man there, because he has been, in all the games that we've seen so far, he's been vital. He's been pivotal to getting them points, getting them territory. And he's a huge component in terms of making sure that the Southern Knights can steady the ship. They do have some playmakers. Robbie Chalmers obviously can play fly half as well. Cameron Scott can play 10, so they could reshuffle the pack. But Chamberlain brings a lot of experience to the Southern Knights.
Of course, Chamberlain last season featured a couple of times for Heriots as well. I remember him playing towards the back end of September. So this isn't new to him being involved in the FOSROC Super 6 in this sprint series. He was maybe a little bit of a bit part player, as he was just improving his own fitness at the tail end of September last year, but came in and made a valuable contribution to, I think, a couple of Heriots matches around that time.
Yeah, I think he brings that experience and professionalism down. I think that is he's pretty much the epitome of what this tournament is all about. He joins the Super 6 ranks and is able to influence the players around him, bring better standards, bring better decision making, and improve the overall skill set as well of the players around him. And I think that is a very welcome sight to everybody at the Greenyards who's supporting the Southern Knights, to see him trundle back onto the field and join the troops again to try and eat back into this Ayrshire Bulls lead.
Yeah, the 22-year-old is past fit, certainly for the foreseeable future, it would seem. And Rennick's throw in. Oh, again, that was guddled there, and the Ayrshire Bulls were alert. Jones, recycled ball once more, just on the edge of the 22 on the fringes there. Sweeney with a decent carry. They'll work it out towards this right hand side. My goodness, they're queuing up on the right hand channel there. Tom Brown with the pass out towards the wing there. Aaron Tate was up in support inside the 22, looking to recycle again. Southern Knights defence under a bit of pressure. Ayrshire Bulls had 3 players occupying space on the right. They're going to recycle ball. Landing on it there was Rory Jackson alongside Edward Bloodworth in the second row for the Ayrshire Bulls. Carried once again by Maguire into the 22. In behind him is Jones, looking to mop up, bypasses the fullback McNamara, could have spread it all the way out towards the left where Ryan Sweeney was occupying some space. It's back with McNamara now, on towards Shedden now backing himself, still he's going, tackled there by Chamberlain, who's back to his feet. Jones comes rushing in, looks to recycle ball, taken on by McPherson again, plants the ball back. Jones recycles again, decent ball retention, and the recycling ball at pace now from Ayrshire Bulls. Have got Southern Knights just on the ropes at the moment. Again, it's Sweeney that carries the blindside flanker, 5 metres from the line. His opposite number is back to his feet, as it's another solid carry there by McPherson, and again the referee jockeying for position right on that try line. Can the Ayrshire Bulls reply almost immediately? What little 1-2 there between the fly half Townsend and Tom Jordan, and Jordan this time from practically the try line itself topples over to score his second and the Bulls' 4th try of this first half, and we've not quite played the half hour. And how about this, Dale? It was about the pace and the execution of recycling ball there time and again, and once more they just had so many options on that right hand side.
Yeah, Ayrshire Bulls are making the Southern Knights work hard. You can see the amount of bodies trying to pile in just to stop McPherson going over the try line there. They managed to tip the ball on to the big second row Bloodworth, and the pace that Cam Jones gets to the breakdown, he gets the ball away there very, very quickly, because the Southern Knights aren't even competing. They're not competing on the floor, but Cam Jones is able to get the ball away quickly to that man there, Townsend, and he just tips it on to Tom Jordan, just doing like that good inside centre line. He knows that the defence is caught in 2 minds. Do we push or do we stick? And he just knew that the gap was there. Tip on, and Tom Jordan goes over for the second try, and perhaps the easiest of the 2 for him.
Absolutely, given the amount of work and the power he showed in running from a good 30-35 metres out previously. This one was all about just garnering the pop pass from Townsend and grounding it successfully from a metre, if that, from the try line. Townsend then looking to add the extras to extend the Ayrshire Bulls lead. That's a successful kick. It's 26 points to 7, and we've now played 30 minutes of the tie. And Ayrshire Bulls, well, I don't necessarily know if they expected that they would have had such a fruitful opening half hour, because literally every visit into the Southern Knights 22 has been fruit for the visiting team.
Yeah, I think they certainly know the task that's in hand. It's a very competitive cluster of teams in the top four, you would say. Maybe just Boroughmuir just on the fringes of that top four, but they know they need to win. They've came out the traps really, really well here at the Greenyards. They've built up a sizable lead, and you feel it's Southern Knights perhaps needed to get the next score then, just to make a fist of it, or at least keep it tight until half time. But we've still got 9 minutes in this first half, and it's going to be a long slog for the Southern Knights, because I feel the Ayrshire Bulls have come down here to really put a marker down in this FOSROC Super 6 Sprint Series.
Of course, the bigger prize will be later in the year when the full championship resumes once more, but this sprint competition gives us an early indication of where the respective squads are just at this stage, with more rugby to be played the other side of the summer, of course, as Ayrshire Bulls then looking to carry up and just over that halfway line, leading by 26 points to 7. Recycled again by Jones, the scrum half. They carry once more over halfway. Jones goes in once again. Has a look at the options on the right hand side. Again, Townsend with a little deft pass towards the left. And Southern Knights playing a higher defensive line just at the moment, but desperately looking for some ball and looking for another score themselves before the interval. 8.5 minutes of the first half left to play, and the Bulls going once again, accelerating onto the passes, time and again, doing so very well as it's recycled this time by the back row forwards. Blair McPherson taking the ball into a solid challenge there. Jones just in behind him, on towards Townsend. Townsend forced back towards the halfway line. Reinforcements again come in. Jones opts for the box kick. That will bounce once, twice, and then finds touches. Scampering across field was Callum Grieve, the Southern Knights fullback. And it'll be another throw in, this time just a fraction inside the Southern Knights 22. And they're trailing by 26 points to 7. And one man that will be acutely aware of the situation and the task in hand is the man on the screen just now, Fraser Rennick, who will throw the ball into the line out.
Yeah, it's difficult. It's difficult for Fraser Rennick to try and galvanise the troops when you're 19 points down against a team who are firing on all cylinders. You can see there McPherson just coming around the corner. The work rate, he's a big, he's almost built like a prop, but you can see him come round the corner, set up that platform, bounce off the first man. And defensively, Southern Knights are having to work tremendously hard just to keep this Ayrshire Bulls attacking threat at bay, and that's just the forwards. The backs are then benefiting off of that space.
Yeah, Thomas Brown doing well in the air to gather the ball. Back with Rennick, reaching in is Redpath. Redpath hoists one right-footed downfield. Again, that's going to be a contestable kick, racing after it. The penalty has been awarded. Collision in the air. Ayrshire Bulls winning the penalty, want to get on with it quickly. You feel that there could be a card coming fairly soon?
I thought Fraser Rennick might have went there. I think the referee maybe is going to be perhaps a little bit sympathetic towards them, but it would be interesting to see this again, because I think Paddy Anderson, it looked like he almost timed that perfectly. You need his foot to hit the floor, and it was perhaps the referee deeming him just to be in the air. I think that's a tight call. And then Cam Jones trying to go quickly. Fraser Rennick just, you could perhaps say cynically just taking him down. Professional foul, but he knows, and that's the experience of Fraser Rennick. He knows that he needs to stop that dead, because you let him go, and then it could be broken field play, could be in behind the line for another try.
Maguire will throw the ball in for the Ayrshire Bulls. 4 tries to 1 the lead. Back inside the Southern Knights 22. 6.5 minutes left. It's again a look forward in Ed Bloodworth, one of the vice captains, winning the ball in the air. Now an illustration of the powerful drive once more as Maguire getting closer and closer towards that line. 5 metres out. There's almost no stopping this Ayrshire Bulls drive towards the line. The referee just jockeying for position. Advantage going to come, but will they need the advantage? I don't think so, because all the way through there Maguire had control of the ball. He was able to power his way over the line. McPherson, one of the last players, back to his feet, and it's a forwards dominated score once more, with those players that we've mentioned already, the usual suspects heavily involved in that latest try.
Southern Knights tried absolutely everything. You can see in the maul earlier on, Grant Shields tries to get his body on the floor, trying to just stop them all going forward, but you can see the cohesiveness of that maul, the fact that the Southern Knights players are having to work hard to try and do anything, and they're all individually trying to do something. they all splinter, and the benefactor there was Alex Maguire. He goes over for a score, and you can see there the captain there was Blair McPherson was on screen there. He'll be happy with his first half effort here. We've still got time in the first half, and it's already 31 points up for Ayr, 7 points for the Southern Knights, and they're making it look very, very easy.
They're very clinical inside the opposition 22. 31 points to 7, could become 33 if Townsend can land this conversion. He's been quite slick so far as he's very deliberately just places the ball once more on the tee, looking to ensure that it's gripping tightly against those little grooves in the teacup. 4.5 minutes of the first half left to play then. Townsend to extend Ayrshire Bulls' lead by a further 2 points. That certainly doesn't look too bad. It's off that left-hand post. So very, very close again. Townsend, just a little shake of the head as he headed back towards his own half of the field. You could see, I think Patrick Anderson was leading the charge out there, but just a width of a post separating Ayrshire Bulls and a further 2 points as Chamberlain gets this restart underway. Now can the Southern Knights contest this? Again, Wara was up as the leading chaser there, but underneath it Robert Beattie, and at the very least they're going to be able to clear the 22, you'd imagine, and they do so just by powering their way through Ryan Sweeney out of the 22, and it will come back towards the edge, and Cam Jones will deliver the box kick. And each restart kick has been rather straightforward from Ayrshire Bulls' point of view, gathering the ball in and going again. Yeah,
I'm surprised Southern Knights haven't actually tried for anything else. They've went the same point every single time. It's almost like it's they've got no other option. So I'd like to see Chamberlain try and mix it up, but again the relentless pressure from the defensive line from Ayrshire Bulls just bursting out there. Tom Jordan just putting pressure on the opposite man, but the Southern Knights trying to answer questions that they certainly don't have the answer to at the moment.
Cam Scott was under a lot of pressure there, and back on the Southern Knights side, back with Chamberlain, looking again to Wara this time. Now can he open up this Ayrshire Bulls defence? Solid tackle coming in though from combination of Ayrshire Bulls players as Bloodworth was up, just slowing down the right winger who's still on the deck just now. He gets back to his feet now, but again a turnover ball, and suddenly Ayrshire Bulls on halfway of a platform to build once more. Tom Brown is alongside the ball carrier, the loose head prop Tom Lambert. He's able to offload and they carry up towards that 10 metre line with Jones mopping up in behind, on towards Townsend. Inside centre is Tom Jordan, out on the right hand side, the ball carried by McNamara, tackled just on the edge of the 22, but they are able to regroup and enter the 22 once more, on this time towards Tim Brown. Brown then plants the ball back, recycled, little 1-2 opening up here as Alex Maguire perhaps senses another try before half time. Regrouping, Jones on towards Townsend. Townsend is tackled by his opposite number Chamberlain. Jones scrambling after it, wanting to get on with it. 31 points to 7 they'll lead. McPherson senses an opportunity out towards the right hand side. Shedden with the power, and Shedden grounds the ball, and there's again another illustration of just how direct this Ayrshire Bulls group of players are this afternoon, led to the front here by Blair McPherson, and McPherson with the offload to McNamara timed his pass perfectly there to Jamie Shedden, and he was a much talked about player before this match this afternoon. Dale, you mentioned him in our introduction to the programme as somebody who had sniper like qualities, and how about that, he was able to bypass Chamberlain, bypass Wara, in for another try. 36-7.
It's all coming from power and pace. That's what's winning this game. The forwards are obliterating the defensive effort from the Southern Knights, and the pace that they're doing it at is unbelievable. With the likes of Cam Jones, he is setting the tempo. He is dictating what pace this game's played at. If he wanted to play at a slower pace, the ball's secure. But the fact that Ayrshire Bulls were able to just drive the Southern Knights off of their own ball and then score in the corner just shows how potent this attacking effort is. And then Shedden in the corner, he's got the pace of a winger, but he's got the build of a second row and the power of 1-2, and he can score tries from his own 22, but he can score tries from close quarters, and that was an excellent score there from Ayrshire Bulls off of what was an attacking play from Southern Knights.
So this would give Southern Knights 38 points on the board before half time. 36-7 it is at the moment. Townsend's kicks beginning to drift round, and it's a beauty from the touchline. That's his best of the afternoon without question. 38 points to 7. And to have as many points on the board as minutes played when you're just practically on half time, that's quite a return for any visiting team at this level in the first half.
Yeah, and looking at the team sheet, I kind of look and think, where is the change going to come from? Where is the impact or the change in the dynamic here? But Billy, when I tried to have a little go down the touchline, but I don't see where the tide changes here, because it's been a formidable first half from Ayrshire Bulls.
And the interesting thing there is the referee Finlay Brown bows for half time. I think that's about the first restart kick which didn't enter the Ayrshire Bulls 22. It was just that little bit shorter, and they did not look quite as assured in gathering the ball as it was still in flight.
Yeah. They've not even made anything contestable, I don't think, the Southern Knights. They've not put it on the 10 metre line to try and contest it. They've went deep inside the 22, because I think they know that if they kick deep inside the 22, the Ayrshire Bulls will kick to try and relieve pressure from themselves, and they'll get the ball back. But it's not really worked that way. Ayrshire Bulls have been able to gather the ball, break the first couple of tackles, and then sneak themselves further up the line, so that instead of a defensive kick, they've got more of an attacking kick coming up. So it's been a very good first half there from the Ayrshire Bulls, and they'll be happy to go down the tunnel 38 points to 7 up.
Yes, quite an emphatic first 40 minutes then for the men from Alloway. Sam Derrick's try, really the only bright moment for the Southern Knights, but it started just in the opening few minutes with real intent here. Ayrshire Bulls, you can see the scrum half doing his bit, Cam Jones from close quarters, and again it was just about the power of the back row forwards coming in a supporting role, Dale. Yeah,
the tempo, you just said Cam Jones there, and Ryan Sweeney just powers over. It's been pace and power. Every single highlight we're going to see, apart from the kicking from Townsend, is going to be pace and power.
Yeah, that was 9 minutes. Then 2 minutes later, this Townsend receiving the pass from his scrum half, evading the Southern Knights captain Fraser Rennick, and he was in for a try. Yeah, again, there's the delivery, there's the support line, and there's the ultimate end, the score.
Yeah, good pace again from Townsend, good power to go off his right foot, and he makes his conversion attempt that much more easier. But it was certainly easy peasy from Ayrshire Bulls to this point.
And from an individual point of view, this perhaps the pick of the bunch, the determination here of Tom Jordan, because he had a lot to do when he gathered possession of the ball there and wrestled away initially from some Southern Knights traffic just beyond 40 metres out. This was a fine score.
Yeah, I'm going to have to say speed and strength, because that's all it is. It's, he's been able to just swat the defenders away, get them out of the road. But this is perhaps the bright spark from the Southern Knights. This was their only positive from the first half.
Yeah, Townsend playing the ball downfield. There's the Chamberlain run on towards Scott and Sam Derrick then. So that made the scoreline 19 points to 7. And you felt at that stage, could it be a turning point in the first half and the Southern Knights come good in the latter stages of the opening 40 minutes? It was going to be a big ask for them, given how Ayrshire Bulls, how potent they were, but at least they had a foothold.
Yeah, you felt it maybe would bring them back into the game, and it would give them something to certainly clutch onto, because it was a great fielding kick there from Chamberlain. He was able to find the space, but from then Ayrshire Bulls just go back up the other end, and they're able again to use their forwards well, get the big guys Bloodworth there into the right space. Townsend gets the ball through the hands, and Jordan just manages just to go through the gap, and straight away instant reply from the Ayrshire Bulls to say, no, this is you can have the one try, but we're going to be taking the rest.
Yeah, a lot more straightforward this time for Tom Jordan, but once more it was just the positioning and the pace and the recycling ball and the speed of the recycling ball, particularly delivered by Jones, the scrum half, that has been an important weapon for this Ayrshire Bulls side. And again, here's the forwards, ball tucked under the arm there. Henderson involved, Maguire involved, Lambert involved, but I think it was indeed Alex Maguire who grounded the ball. And again, going back maybe 30 seconds before that clip's played, it was just incessant power by the forwards.
Yeah, it's just constant, and this is another one as well. Like, the players have to get really, really tight to try and stop any effort, but there's 3 players try and get Jamie Shedden off of the field of play, and you can see set up well here. McPherson just rides the tackle, gets the ball into somebody who's got a little bit of pressure on him, so he can get the space. He can get the ball through the hands to the player in the space, because they've done the hard work to suck the defence in. They've done it all. They've barged up. The players have sucked in. The players then got a little bit of pressure on the skill set to get the ball through the hands. Excellent work there from the Ayrshire Bulls. And I think in terms of Super 6, I dare to find a more accomplished and professional outfit in the first half than what the Ayrshire Bulls have just put on display there.
Yeah, arguably the most clinical first 40 minutes that we've seen at this level in quite some time, it has to be said. Ayrshire Bulls then just showing that what they're all about this afternoon, and they're very much up for the task in hand, and a team out to look quite emphatic today and show their Sunday best this Saturday afternoon. But it is half time. The Southern Knights are the team that will certainly want half time to use this particular interval to regroup and reset and refocus before the start of the second half. But it allows us to go out and about once more, as we like to do during the half-time intervals, and go around the grounds. And this week we went along to Goldenacre to chat with Heriot's Rugby's attack coach Stuart Edwards about how he's enjoying his first season as a coach after hanging up his boots, and what his aims and aspirations are for the future.
My journey into coaching at Heriot's has been slightly unique, I suppose, in terms of I've not coached anywhere else within the club. I've been playing for the last 8 years at the club through the Super6 when I first started, but my coaching has been mainly away from Heriot's. I'm the head of rugby at Stuart McFarlane College, and that's my day job, if you like. And once I finished playing the Super6 last year, I thankfully got the opportunity to move into coaching within the attack and the backs area of the game, and it's something that I was really pleased to get stuck into, and I'm absolutely loving it so far. I've had loads of support, and I've been really lucky. I'm still pretty early on in my coaching career, if you like. I'm only 30. I'm still learning as I go every day, and I done my ACL when I was 24, playing for Heriot's against Boroughmuir and at Megaland, and from there I got into doing my UKC level 3 at the time, which kind of sparked my interest for coaching. I wasn't doing my job at Stuart Melville in its current role at the time, and did a bit of the Edinburgh district stuff for the regional programme, and then got an opportunity to coach the Scotland under-16 Reds with Brian Eason, who's the current women's coach, and that really gave me the first taste of what that next level of high performance coaching looked like. So I moved on the year after to do the under-16 head coach role when Brian moved on, and then the year after that into the under-18s before COVID came around. So I've been really lucky to have the support I've had from the SRU to kick me on, and it's motivated me to keep on trying to get better and to move forward, and this is hopefully the next step within that journey. I've got 3 or 4 of my best mates in this team, alongside 10, 12 other guys that I'm very close with, guys that I've played with for years, and you kind of question yourself as to am I doing the right thing? Am I saying the right thing? Am I delivering the content good enough for this level? But after a few weeks, I was fine. I was confident in what I was doing, and it's just kind of making that line clear with the guys that I know really well, that when we're coaching, I'm the coach and they're the players, and then when we're off the pitch, we're back to being friends. Yeah, it's interesting. People ask that question quite a lot, and I think when the first season that came around, I didn't really feel like the skill level was much different, but the physicality was at a higher level. Obviously, because teams are now using more S&C provision, and they're training more off pitch, and I remember feeling worse on Sundays than I felt previous years in the National Leagues or Premiership, just purely because of the physicality that the other teams were bringing to the league. I think now, at the stage we're at within the Super6, the skill level's also matched that physicality, and it's became a real challenging league to compete within, and every game's hard. Every team's well prepared. You've got to do your analysis to a level that's above what was before, to ensure you can try and pick off the small areas that other teams are trying to get you with, and also how you can maybe get them. So I think the whole on and off pitch level is increased, to the point where if you're not on the ball, you're not prepared, then you see the results on a Saturday, and I can only see that getting more and more as time moves on. We need to use this league as a springboard for the kids that are coming through the age grade programmes. I think we're slowly getting there as a league. I know we're certainly conscious of that here. We need to keep on pushing through more and more, under 18 and under 20 players, stage 3 players, or players that have missed that that bracket and they're coming in a little bit later. So I think the league in itself is probably still finding its feet. I don't think it's at its stage where we're happy with where it's at. I don't think we need to keep on striving towards getting a blended balance of experience, because it's important to get those guys that are, you know, the tail end of their career but have been around for 10 years, but also having the guys that are coming through aspirations to play for Scotland, and finding that balance within clubs and within the wider league itself is a challenge. But I think if that's at the forefront of our ambitions, then we'll be in a good place. I don't know, I'm not trying to get too far ahead of myself. I'm conscious I've got loads to learn. It's my first year coaching adults. I want to do really well for the club. That's my only ambition at the moment, is to head at Super6 and do as well as we possibly can. Hopefully win the competition. That's our ultimate aim. And then where the next 2 or 3 years take us, we'll see how we go. But I'm not getting too far ahead of myself at the moment. I just want to make sure that we do a good job here, and then what comes in the back of that will be what we.
A nice little package there. Stuart Edwards, of course, very much part of the Heriots coaching staff now, as we see the match referee Finlay Brown and his assistants take to the field. Both sets of players are on for the start of this second half. Dale, just a very quick word. Stuart Edwards, I remember him having what we'd call an educated left foot. He had a super left boot on him, but despite the fact that he was injured and perhaps retired from playing a little earlier than he intended to, it's great to see him involved in the coaching setup, and that this competition from a coach's point of view now takes on extra significance.
I think from coaches, players, referees, lines, match officials, anybody, I think it's a great platform for development, and it's great to see young coaches. You also see in the VT just off the side, Finlay Gillies was a young coach in there as well at 33 years old. He's been at Hawks. He's obviously got aspirations as well to play a part in the growth of Scottish rugby, and whether you be a player or a referee or a coach, it's this Super 6 initiative, the league structure gives the platform for people to do that.
And Finlay Brown, I'm glad to say, is fully wired for sound, to use a Cliff Richard line from some years ago. No, there was no bets on mentioning Cliff Richard in this commentary, I have to say. It just something that entered my head as Southern Knights then in the foothills of the Eildons have a bit of mountain climbing in front of them. 38 points to 7 they trail. Start of the second half. Looking now to Redpath. This is a bit of a baptism of fire in his relatively short career at this level. The youngster has great pedigree and plenty of experience, certainly at youth level. It'll be interesting to see what happens in the early stages of the second half.
Yeah, and I think this is a great learning curve for Redpath to be playing behind a pack which is getting bullied. He's going to learn a lot during this game against a team. His team's on the back foot, and he's played pretty well. But you can see Ayrshire Bulls just cutting him apart again. Yeah,
Cam Jones with a great splinter run. Now needs some reinforcements coming in. It's Townsend who mops up. Hooker is Maguire out towards this right hand side, and Aaron Tate is the spear man, the left winger on the right hand side, a smile on his face as he touches down. 1 minute on the clock in the second half. Almost disbelief on some of those Southern Knights players, because a lot of the good work in the dressing room at half time has been already undone. And again, it's the supporting cast there, because it was the scrum half this time taking the ball up with a driving run, Cam Jones, but the ball, despite him being on the deck, was recycled very quickly out towards Aaron Tate. Fine score.
This bit here, the hooker riding the challenge, getting the ball through the hands, and it's that man, Tom Jordan, who manages to see what he sees what Maguire was going to do. He knew exactly what he was going to do, so he got himself in the position to retrieve the ball. And as all good wingers do, Aaron Tate held his width, managed to stretch the park, and all he needed to do was make sure Tom Jordan got the ball in his hands, and they could spill it across to him, and he went in for a score. And we've been chatting off air about the way that this game's going, and it's difficult to see where the tide turns, and the Ayrshire Bulls have just probably confirmed our thinking.
They don't look like a side that is going to necessarily ease off the accelerator pedal, as Townsend then glances down at the ball up towards the posts. That's another 2 points on the board, and Ayrshire Bulls straight out of the blocks. The start of the second period, 45 points to 7 in front then, and this scoreline, if this continues to creep upwards in this second half, it's going to be one that will make the remaining teams in the competition stand up and realise just what the qualities are of this Ayrshire Bulls side when they are on form.
Yeah, definitely, and I think that's exactly what they're going to be doing. I think that's the purpose of how they've came out the second half with so much fire in the belly to get that score. But it's difficult to play against a team who have got forwards that can do the same things as backs can do. You know, the centres and the old traditional ball players. You've got the front row who are linking up well for the Ayrshire Bulls, but the Southern Knights are bringing the changes there with Eddie Slater coming on and also James Bett. So they're looking to try and get some game time into the players' legs. But you know, it's a difficult ask for the Southern Knights to try and galvanise anything from this fixture.
And there'll be changes at lock forward and change in the midfield then for the Southern Knights, and bringing those changes very early on in the second period. As you can see, Redpath is just trying to keep vocal, watch the activities of the forwards in front. As spinning round was Thomas Brown. Again, frustration there, just glancing to the heavens there. Isaac Brace, the Southern Knights tight head prop, and you know, he's put in a real shift. You can see how exhausted he looks, you know, despite the efforts getting them no further than that 10-metre line. But it's taking its toll on these Southern Knights players just at the moment. Yeah,
he probably won't welcome the news that he's probably got still another 10 minutes in his legs here, because it's you know, it's relentless from the Ayrshire Bulls. As much as, actually, to be fair, I think we've been praising the Ayrshire Bulls in terms of their power and their pace for the whole game. They're winning this game from that margin because they have not taken their hands off of the throat of the Southern Knights. They're strengthening their grip, and these Southern Knights players are finding it hard to find anywhere to try and breathe and get any space from this Ayrshire Bulls team.
This, of course, coming as the third of the matches this weekend, coming on the back of two relatively close games. If you missed the action from a little bit earlier on, Dale was alongside Bruce Miller for live coverage of the match at Megatland between Watsonians and Heriots. Watsonians playing that game at Megatland this afternoon. 34 points to 25, the final score for the Myerside club, playing just along the road. And of course, last night there was a very, very close match up at Bridge Hawk, just a point in it. Stirling County 25, Boroughmuir Bears 26. So Boroughmuir Bears winning for the first time this season in this sprint competition, as the FOSROC Super6 sprint series for this weekend will draw to a close with the conclusion of this game. But this is quite emphatic. The Alloway men leading by 45 points to 7. They have an advantage as they work their way up towards halfway. Jones then back, little grubber kick through, but it's a little bit off the deck, so it travelled a fair distance. The referee will come back for the advantage close towards halfway. And the Southern Knights would have been asked, I'm sure, to tighten up in the start of the second half, try and win a little bit more ball. And well, that was the one thing that we did talk about in the earlier stages of the first half. The territory and the ball that they had was quite sizable in percentage, but the play with it was quite ineffective.
Yeah, I think it was, you know, they didn't do a lot with it, but I think on the way the game's panned out, we can see why, is because Ayrshire Bulls are a level above them. You know, certainly today. The job that Ayrshire Bulls now have is to be as professional as possible, you know, to make sure that they can continue with this level of performance for a full 80 minutes. They've also got the fact new players will be introduced to the game. You know, there's going to be different personnel at this fixture, so that is a challenge in its own from the Ayrshire Bulls, but certainly there'll be work-ons for both teams, even if the game is perhaps won at this point.
Should see Rob Moffat in our picture, hugely experienced coach, arms folded, was watching on from one of the corners as Jamie Shedden takes the ball into contact. Cam Jones has to go back, finds McNamara straightens up, he's a half through, McNamara still going. What about this for a piece of powerful running here? Solid tackle coming in though from Slater as it's recycled once more by McPherson. Mopped up again by the scrum half, on towards Townsend's pass out towards the left hand side. The Bulls again just primed and ready as they work it out down this left hand side now at a fair rate of knots. Once more occupying some space there was Jamie Shedden, takes the ball into contact, recycled again under the legs this time, scampering after it was Tom Jordan. The referee was playing yet another period of Ayrshire Bulls advantage, and they'll work it across to a more central position inside the Southern Knights 22, 45 points to 7 in front, 7 minutes of the second half gone.
I did think Cam Jones was going to go Yeah, again there, I thought he was going to go quickly because I think Finlay Brown will think he's got a stalker because he was trying to chase him back to the mark to see if they could go quickly, but I think that's the part of Ayrshire Bulls professionalism here. That's what they need to do. They need to play rugby in the right areas, not try and make this a training exercise. The training will be play rugby how we should be playing rugby. Let's kick the ball into the corner, let's go for the line out, let's work on those drills in a real competitive environment, and that's exactly what they do. But you can see there, when they get through the gears and break the defensive line, they are such a dangerous outfit.
25 minutes to 6 on a Saturday evening. Live coverage from the Greenyards in Melrose. Southern Knights 7, Ayrshire Bulls 45. Andrew Nimmo is a front row forward, a replacement for the Ayrshire Bulls. I think that will be their first of the match so far, as they've been a very polished and cohesive unit during the match. It is 47 minutes old and they have the line out now. The instructions coming the way of Nimmo. The throw-in will be the execution there from Maguire, throwing the ball into the line. Maguire then tries to round the corner there on the edge of the maul and straighten up, and again power up in the final 5 metres of the line. Looks to offload. In position and in possession now is Aaron Tate. Has to almost run back into a clutch of bodies there, recycled by Jones once again. They're queuing up, literally queuing up the forwards as Jones looks to recycle once more. You feel there's an inevitability about the eventual outcome here, as there's got space on this left hand side, and it's Jamie Shedden who is not going to be barged off the ball there. He gathered the ball towards the corner, scampered in from 5-6 metres out. We'll get to see this again, but again it was about the speed and pace there. Despite it going under Robert Beattie's legs, it still found its way to McNamara, and then you felt, Dale, as soon as it was in the hands there of Jamie Shedden, there was going to be one outcome, just one outcome only. Yeah,
definitely. I think it takes away all the hard work you can see from the forwards before this actually the ball goes across, but the zip on the pass from Cam Jones to take the contact area just 2 or 3 bodies out further than it should be, you know, just with an easy pass. He's really challenging himself to get the ball right in front of the Southern Knights defensive line. It takes a defensive effort, you know, the attacking point, just a couple of bodies out, which means the defence has to get round really, really quickly. It has to work hard round the corner, as you'll hear coaches say. And there, you know, even when the ball's dislodged and it goes loose, they've still got plenty of time because the bodies are in defence are going to work so hard, and Shedden in the end, again, like a good winger, holds his touchline, gets the ball eventually and just dots it down in the corner.
50 points on the board, 50 minutes gone. Townsend in from the touchline, ball in flight, and is just not quite, well, possibly short or just across the front of the post, but just maybe lacking a little bit of direction. We'll perhaps get a better view of the kick from here. Certainly a decent effort, and yeah, just across the face of the post more or less. But it's an emphatic afternoon from this Ayrshire Bulls side, and still plenty of time left for further scoring.
Yeah, and I think Southern Knights need to, obviously from this platform, manage to contest the kick-off and get it back. This is now where they need to steady the ship and try and get some continuity in their play.
It's on towards Scott there. Chamberlain, long pass out towards the left hand side. Patrick Anderson, we've barely seen him going forward in the contest, and he's bundled into touch just on the edge of the 22. You'll cut a somewhat frustrated figure as he's been on the periphery of the contest, as is often the case when you're a winger in a team that is really suffering at the hands of the opposition this afternoon. And cuts a somewhat wearisome figure there, but he's undoubtedly a talented young player. And he will enjoy better afternoons, I'm sure, in the future as further change has been made. Ayrshire Bulls going to the bench once more. 50 points to 7 in front, and they look to just make changes both in the backs and in the forwards. They've got the throw in then at the line out, as it's one towards the front of the line, just on the edge of their own 22, and they haven't been in deep line positions defensively inside their own 22 for a while, as we see that Michael Scott has come on for Calvin Henderson. So a further change for Ayrshire Bulls in the front row. Tom Lambert replaced by Andrew Nimmo just a couple of minutes ago, as again Ayrshire Bulls looking to mop up once more, having made some ground beyond that 22. Back to his feet there, Michael Scott, just on the park. Use it. Occupying some space on the right hand side. Box kick delivered this time downfield. Replacement scrum half on the park as well after some hard work from Cam Jones. 50 points to 7 the scoreline, looking to be by far and away the most emphatic result so far in this sprint series, because generally speaking the games have been relatively close affairs so far, and I don't think many people expected such a one-sided contest so early on. So Jordan Lanack, the latest Ayrshire Bulls player off the bench, of course part of the Ayrshire Bulls side that defeated the Southern Knights back in the autumn to lift the FOSROC Super 6 title, the first one to reach its full conclusion.
Time off.
Coming on the back of COVID, of course.
Sub.
Another replacement, and it sounds as if Callum Greaves' afternoon may be done as Southern Knights look to replace at fullback.
Yeah, I think Kieran Clark is all that he really needs to worry about is his own performance. I'd imagine he just it's a straight replacement at fullback, and he'll just have to come on and try and do his job, as Lanack, with the 21 in his back, is able to get the ball away from the line out and again set up this attacking platform. You can see the effort that goes into just bringing these big bulls down to the ground.
Yeah, Lanack with the offload there as Knights once again on the defensive, and Bulls trying to gain some ground on the go forward up towards the halfway line. McNamara was leading the charge, lifts himself up off the deck. Offside decision given against, I think it was Jamie Shedden on this occasion. So Southern Knights have this opportunity. You see how close they are to that 10-metre line, but it's now really about pride, I suppose, from them, as Chamberlain has received further treatment. Now you remember back to relatively early on in the first half, he seemed to have taken a knock around that left shoulder, and the physios were on the park for some time just treating it and ensuring he was fit to continue. Well, it looks as if he's had further treatment around that shoulder area, but it appears he's going to shoulder on just for the moment.
Yeah, that's a player that at this stage of the game you wonder whether is it worth taking him off? Is it worth just taking him off the field of play and just reshuffling your pack slightly, because he's a player that you can ill afford to get injured, because he's a shining light in what is perhaps an understrength Southern Knights team. Not to be too negative about the way that it is, but he's a player that they need to keep an eye on here.
Just stay. Hold.
Throw in then. Fraser Rennick. Ball one in the line there by Brown. Rennick then just on the edge of the 22, in between those two channels. Coming in is Redpath. Long white sleeves under that dark jersey. Rennick still has it. His opportunity is trying to look up a couple of times just at what's in front. Brings Redpath into play. Wara comes off that right wing, takes the ball into contact, plants it back. Redpath was able to glance up. The second row forward there coming onto it was Thomas Brown. Recycled again and onto it this time Wallace Nelson, who had a decent carry much earlier on in the contest, but these back row forwards have had precious little opportunity and they've coughed up possession again. That was a good turnover for Ayrshire Bulls. Up towards the edge of the 22 they go once again, so they look to have snuffed out that opportunity there for Southern Knights inside the Ayrshire Bulls 22 to try and do further damage. And the damage being done has been, that one converted try coming much earlier on in the tie through Sam Derrick. Otherwise, Ayrshire Bulls have been almost completely unscathed in the tie so far. You
just look at the attacking shape there from Melrose. Go back to the try where Shedden got it in the top corner. Ayrshire Bulls managed to just pass the ball quickly from the base out 2-3 bodies, and there Southern Knights are hitting on the side of the ruck. They're hitting one body, and they're running really lateral, which means that the defence can move quite easily and cover the space. So there's a difference in attacking shape there. One man goes up direct. I mean, they're going to hit the next runner here. I think you can look here. Thomas Brown is perhaps looking to take the ball, but they've just been ripped to the ball again. So it's been difficult to compete on the floor and in attack for the Southern Knights.
And a rare mistake there from Tim Brown as he was desperately trying to clutch onto the ball there, the open side flanker coming onto it, because again he could see and sense opportunities to break that 10-metre line, and just at the breakdown it went awry there for the Ayrshire Bulls back row forward. Southern Knights 7, Ayrshire Bulls 50. There's confirmation that Kieran Clark has replaced Callum Grieve at fullback for the Southern Knights, and remember him playing in a Waverley Cup tie on Boxing Day a few years ago. Acquitted himself very well, was part of the Melrose squad at the very recent Melrose Sevens, played on this park the best part of a month ago now, but now part of the Southern Knights squad of part-time professional players. And Billy Wara cutting a somewhat disconsolate figure. Many of the players in Southern Knights jerseys are very much playing for pride now in the remaining minutes of this tie. 15 minutes of the second half gone. Scrummage here then for the Southern Knights, trailing by 50 points to 7. Murray Redpath will feed the ball into the scrum. Get a real illustration of just how powerful those three front row forwards are for the Ayrshire Bulls in particular. As again they're looking to drive back, but it's a breakthrough there by Sam Derrick, the Southern Knights try scorer, who's able to rip through that scrummage. On now, a little touch there from Scott out towards the right hand side, and coming onto at pace there was Kieran Clark, who was trying to release Billy Wara on the right hand side. The referee though is bringing play back for an infringement. But first opportunity really since the Southern Knights have made several changes to bring the likes of Kieran Clark into open play and try and get a little bit of pace into a move going forward inside the opposition half.
I can only really recall one set play where there's one set play where the Southern Knights have been able to actually bring their outside backs into the game, because it was the scrum not too far from where we are just now in the first half, where they were able to really congest and had a solid scrum, so all the pack was there. They run a good move and could get Patrick Anderson into space, but the likes of Kieran Clark are going to find it really difficult because of the pressure that they're getting from Ayrshire Bulls. In attack, they're relentless and direct, and in defence, they're equally so. They're finding, the Southern Knights are finding it really hard to live with them because they can't get any attacking shape or any attacking form. And look at the power of that scrum.
Yeah, I think Ryan Sweeney is now perhaps on the number 8 position there for Blair McPherson, because he was taking his seat in the stand just at the front, and Fraser Rennick again, some jersey grabbing, and the Ayrshire Bulls players, I think they're just trying to get under the skin now of these Southern Knights players, and the Southern Knights skipper tempers frayed there as Rennick just takes a step or two back, and there's an illustration of the power. Lanak was trying to escape the attentions of Murray Redpath, and then there was the coming together of the front row forwards. It was a rather mismatch there with only one Southern Knights player in the mix. Yeah,
I think that was a captain's effort there. I think there was a big shove on Will Owen, and I think Fraser Rennick perhaps just sticking up for his teammate there, and as the pack for Southern Knights just kind of retreated back towards their 10 metre mark, and Fraser Rennick was still there trying to stick up for his teammate. But that's just the way the things go when your confidence is low and the team's got the upper hand. They're going to start rubbing salt into the wounds.
Joe Knight on for Blair McPherson as the ball is now with the 16. That's Rodri Tanner, replacement hooker for the Ayrshire Bulls. Reaching in also is Jordan Lanak. Lanak now has it now. Little offload there on towards Lanny. Across on this right hand side, they've got a little bit of space there. You can see Lanak is on for, this is Christian Townsend. Certainly there Lanak is on the ball at the moment. He's taken on the scrum half duties from Cam Jones. And just at the moment the Southern Knights have been able to weather this latest storm. Again though, you can see that there's some trouble for one or two of the Southern Knights players, having picked up knocks to the shoulder, and one of them down at the moment is Paul Slater, who's I think getting a bit of treatment, as well as Rodri Tanner on confirmation of that in place of Alex Maguire, one of the Ayrshire Bulls try scorers. And Bulls will be themselves maybe somewhat disappointed in the last 6 or 7 minutes that they haven't added to their try tally.
Yeah, I think so. You can just see as Southern Knights are going to the line out there. I think Sam Derrick he had his kind of hands out as if he never knew the call, and that's what happens when your confidence is low and things have changed. It's difficult to see a battle like this in the Super6, because it is a huge learning curve for the Southern Knights. But Ayrshire Bulls, you could see they've still got that attacking threat in behind the scrum. They just good defensive play initially from the Southern Knights, and now they enjoy some ball in hand.
Chamberlain launches it forward right-footed. Bulls of players back. The man in the ball just now, McNamara, the fullback. Left-footed, launched high, contestable kick. It's gathered there though. It's taken well as Again, Southern Knights looking to Eddie Slater to go forward once more. Billy Warra chasing that kick. Lanac cross field. Ball bobbles into touch. We've played an hour, 50 points to 7. It's going to be an important last quarter as Southern Knights play for pride. Ayrshire Bulls maybe looking to add to their tally. They've got a half century of points on the board. It's going to be an interesting table when we view it at the conclusion of this game, given that we've had victories this weekend so far for Watsonians and for Boroughmuir Bears, and most certainly for Ayrshire Bulls. This game now well and truly won with 20 minutes of the tie left to play. It's about how big the margin of victory you'd imagine between these sides. Bulls doing well, line out inside their own 22. Again, Rodri Tanner takes the ball forward. Lanac in position. Take it from the replacement hooker onto the replacement scrum half. Box kick downfield. Is that a nice touch finder in front of the main stand? The raised flag there from Ross Maben, who's seems to be having a pleasant enough afternoon. He's had a smile on his face for the majority of the days, enjoying his duties down there, as Ross.
He's always got a smile on his face. He's one of the happiest referees I know. He's looking a bit serious there, to be fair. But Michael Todd on the other touchline as well. We said before, it's a great breeding ground for officials and players and coaches, and certainly these players are benefiting from the step up in pace and the step up in action from regular Premiership rugby.
He maybe knew he was on camera, wanted to show us his more stern expression there as the ball palmed back. Tim Brown scampers after it. Looks as if Thomas Brown, the Southern Knights lock forward, has been able to work off that shoulder injury. He was getting a little bit of treatment a few moments ago inside his own 22, and it's recycled in Lanac once more. Again, look at the quick ball they play just over their own 22 as the ball carriers once more. A splinter run here from McNamara. Lovely offload towards Aaron Tate. Aaron Tate, he's going to back himself to go towards the corner and over the line. And we mentioned it's been a quiet spell for the Ayrshire Bulls in terms of try scoring. They've had a rather dry period this last 7-8 minutes. Well, they've added a further 5 points, and again it was just breaking the tackles. McNamara offload towards the winger Aaron Tate. Aaron Tate was able to strip past the run there of Paul Etty Slater, and he couldn't get into the corner. Warner denied him any opportunity rather to go underneath the post. It was in the corner for the score. And Dale, another fine piece of attacking play from the men from Alloway.
It's all over the park. They've had people performing, and their fullback Leo McNamara will be, I would say gutted, but he's not got his name on the score sheet, but he's been setting up tries for all his teammates round about him. So you've got a fullback who's acting a bit as your playmaker. You've got your two wingers of 2 tries each, and you've also got you did have your number 8 Blair McPherson just battering holes through the opposition. So it's been a formidable game from Ayrshire Bulls, but the pace from Tate, that'll do his confidence no ill effects at all to be able to palm off his opposite man and go in the corner.
Looking to add the extras as well in the foothills of the Eildons. 55 points to 7 could become 57, and it does. 57-7. This is quite emphatic as the visiting side then head back into their own half of the field. They'll be mindful that there's still 17.5 minutes of this game left to play or thereabouts. 16-17 minutes on the clock, and Aidan Cross has come on for Patrick Anderson. Another Southern Knights change just in the backs in that midfield as Lanac recycles ball. Once again, Ayrshire Bulls relatively easy to gather just on the edge of their own 22 and attack once more, breaking the tackles onto it again at a rate of knots, but they've been stripped, and now Southern Knights have it, but under some pressure there. Rudy Brown gets the ball up towards that 10 metre line. Recycled again, offload. Paul Etty Slater up with play, goes to deck. Fraser Rennick also on the ground. Referee room play back for an infringement just close towards the 10 metre line. And, I suppose these Southern Knights players have got to just remain focused and take it a stage at a time to try and work their way back to a position where they can perhaps execute a score and at least get into double figures. But when you concede as many points as this in the scoreline as is one side as it is for Southern Knights, with them having home advantage, this is going to be quite damaging.
Yeah, it's going to be damaging. This is the biggest defeat they've suffered. They did concede 41 points against Heriots in their opening game of the campaign, but this supersedes that scoreline definitely. And at least that day they were able to score 24 points themselves. But here, this is it's difficult to take positives out of something that seems so negative on paper. But these are young players, like the young lad Redpath, just rolling the ball in there. This is going to be a huge learning curve for them because they're playing an experienced team in Ayrshire Bulls, and even there from the scrum, the guys will be looking at, listen to the referee there and try and pick up learning points into how did they win that penalty, why did they win that penalty, and how can we win more.
Yeah, and I suppose as well the bigger picture is the full FOSROC Super6 competition, which will begin a little bit later on in the year. This is very much a forerunner to that, but it's important in isolation to get off to a start, because by the very nature of it being a sprint, if you get off to a good start, you're likely to progress and do that bit better over the course of the number of matches that you play.
Yeah, I'd said in the game before, I kind of argued the fact that this is a warm-up to anything, because both teams want to go hammer and tong, but quickly Ayrshire Bulls are in the race, Southern Knights aren't, so this is going to be warm-up, and this is going to be preparation for the Southern Knights as they try and focus on their league campaign. But the other teams in it, they're in it to win it, and I'm sure that you can see from the effort that they put in, they're not going to be leaving anything out in the field.
Rennick is throwing, very accurate in the line. He's got the ball back now. You can see how close they are to the Ayrshire Bulls line. They desperately looking for something to at the very least get into double figures in the tie with around 14 minutes of the match left to play. Stripped there by Redpath. On it goes now. Chamberlain with a pass out towards the right hand side. Taken on there by Clark. Out towards Wara. Wara is wrapped in two Ayrshire Bulls tackling players. One of them is Shedden, who scored 2 tries himself. It's back now with the skipper, and Fraser Rennick tries to straighten up inside that 22. Redpath in behind him with that little offload on towards Will Owen. Will Owen's been in the wars since coming on from the bench, as it's back now with Chamberlain. Chamberlain thought about perhaps the loop pass out there with his number 8 out on that left hand side. At the very least they'll want to retain possession of the ball and regroup, but their recycled ball is quite clearly a lot slower than Ayrshire Bulls when the Bulls find themselves inside Southern Knights 22 territory. You can see it's been stripped as well by the Ayrshire Bulls, and there's the simple exit downfield, but it's going to be gathered in the air and taken on there by Jordan Lanack, now down towards the edge of the 22, I should say. That's Aidan Cross, I beg your pardon. The Southern Knights 21. It's recycled by Chamberlain now. On towards yet another replacement in Eddie Slater. Out towards the right hand side. Wara, little chip and chase now up against his opposite number. Can he battle his way towards the line? That was good defensive cover really there by James Shedden, as Jamie Shedden just closing the door as Billy Wara was making some distance with some speed down that right hand side. He's now in the wars as he's on the ground. He had to try something a little bit different there in a one-on-one situation, the chip and chase backing his pace, but up against that a quality operator in James Shedden.
Definitely just something a little bit more inventive and individualistic there from Billy Wara, and that's exactly what Southern Knights are needing. They need that little bit of spark into their game, and he kind of was asked to do a little bit too much on the wing. He was just given the ball, let's try and do something. He went for the cute little chip and done really, really well to keep it in the field of play as well. Won the penalty, and luckily for the Southern Knights, the ball did trundle out, but they do have the penalty, so they've got the chance to go from here and go from perhaps stab it into the corner and try and set up a drive and maul again and really test this Ayrshire Bulls defence.
Well earned drink, and fluids taken on board by both the Southern Knights and the Ayrshire Bulls players as we approach the final 12 minutes. And certainly Billy Wara, another one of the players very much in the wars, but yeah, that was a cute bit of play. It was close towards the touchline. The pace on the kick was good, but the power and the covering defence there. Shedden had a supporting player coming across the 22, making it very difficult for Wara to finish things off.
Just off the line, please. White.
Play towards the corner, and here's the throw in.
Billy Wara's perhaps been one of the better Southern Knights players, to be fair. He's looked like he's worked hard to try and do something. He looks like he's tried to truck it up as well, but let's see what the Southern Knights can do here from this lineup.
Rennick then will throw the ball in. It's won by the number 8, Rudy Brown. Rennick looking to join in the drive. There's the splinter run, no one running into some traffic there. Joe Knight was able to slow things up, taken on by Redpath. Recycled ball, Redpath will come in once more. He's just backing off it just ever so slightly as it's been picked up there by Corey Boker, and it's been picked up once more by the replacement forwards, and Fraser Rennick in amongst it all as well, as one of the players almost loses a jersey. They're peppering the posts almost just at the moment. Wallace Nelson trying to mop things up and recycle some ball. There's an advantage coming the way of Southern Knights, who are 5 metres from the line just now. Andrew Nimmer, some desperate defence from the Ayrshire Bulls replacement tight head prop, and the referee has the raised arm. In fact, Nimmo will be a loose head rather than a tight head in the remainder of this game. As it's going to be a tap and go inside the 22. 11 minutes left to play. Southern Knights 7, Ayrshire Bulls 57.
You okay?
Bit of cramp by the looks of it. Bulls player back on his feet there, the hard-working Ryan Sweeney scored the very first try back in the 9th minute of the contest.
Right, okay, hang on, we'll wait till it's off.
So over the ball at the moment, Rudy Brown and Fraser Rennick. Rennick with a pick and go, Brown just in behind, trying to get underneath the posts, wrestling for it. Pick and go once more as Brown was able to plant the ball back. Now he gets back to his feet, he's going to have another drive at the line. Playing some crash ball here, but you can see forced right back to that 5 metre line. Over the ball at the moment again is Sam Derrick, the only Southern Knights try scorer, but the recycle ball trying to perhaps bring a little bit more width into play. Corey Boker again tries to pick and go. In behind him is Will Owen on his feet. The long white sleeves of Redpath as well as the scrum half is going to be used, but it's forwards dominated just at the moment as the Southern Knights closing in. Final 10 minutes now, 10 minutes to go. Can they cross the whitewash for only the second time in the contest? They're going right and left, but the Ayrshire Bulls defence remains absolutely resolute. Joe Knight, just the man just denying every opportunity there. There seemed no way through for the ball carrier on that occasion for the Southern Knights. The backs are primed and ready. Now it's bypass Chamberlain there, and the ball's allowed to bounce. It comes back. The referee was playing a little bit of advantage. It worked its way past Wallace Brown and Chamberlain, but back they will come. Redpath keen to get on with it. Rennick is down now, receiving some treatment. Here's Dale Clancy.
Yeah, I think Andrew Nimmo has been sin-binned there. You can just see him just at the top of the screen, just by the hoardings with the red boots on. He's just been shown a yellow card, but Southern Knights going in ones there. It's not a great example of how to try and attack a line from 5 metres out if you're going to pick and go, because they were going right, left, over the top, but there was no continuity, there was no pace on it. If you go round the corner and you're going to pick and go, you need to keep the tempo high. You need to pick, go, and then go again, because the defence has to work round the corner. They weren't doing that. They were pick and going, and then it slowed, so they went again, and then they went right where the defence is, and then they tried to go through the middle where it was well guarded as well. They're finding it really hard to unlock this defence, and I feel it's quite individualistic. And there's a man there, Andrew Nimmo in the sin bin, but I think down to 14 men, I think the defensive effort will still be trying to go strong.
Yeah, Nimmo will watch the remainder of the contest from the sidelines as Southern Knights again looking to drive towards the line. Southern Knights, it would just be mere consolation at this stage, but there's two just behind the ball carrier this time to try and add a little bit of power in bulk as they go in more of a little pod. As it's back, you can see again Redpath just over the ball. He now reaches in to try and secure. He's got ball in hand at the moment. Now Chamberlain, crossfield kick. Oh, that kind of ricochets. Come back towards Scott there, but the referee again had played further advantage. An offside decision given against Ayrshire Bulls. And this an incessant period of pressure by the Southern Knights, but if they were to fail to capitalise and get some points, they'd be so disheartened, I would imagine.
So that hang on a sec, Fraser, let me deal with this. Jordan, where are you? Yeah, look, we've just had a player go to the bin, okay? In number 17, we've just straight away got another penalty. We've got to sort it, I'm running out of options here. Have a word? Thank you.
Yeah, the referee making it quite clear there in terms of it was Rodri Tanner who was offside, so making it very, very clear as to what he expects, and he's got no other option is to go to the bin after that. But even the option here in terms of the penalty, they're down down a front row in terms of Nimmo being off. I would even be nervous about calling the scrum.
Yeah, well, even down a man, it's certainly at this stage when you've got an attacking scrum here, or the possibility of an attacking scrum, but they're just going to have a wee tap and go here. Rennick now again, he tried to sidestep away from trouble, and he's forced backwards, still 5 metres from his own line.
Use it!
Red path over it, so too Corey Boker, and the try scorer Sam Derrick, as this is a slightly better attacking opportunity perhaps here for the Southern Knights. The ball is spilled, and again they're trying to reach over and ground the ball. The Southern Knights players think that they've been able to successfully do so, as the ball was ripped and launched away. There was Joe Knight coming at pace. In terms of player of the match, as we tend to start to think about these things with about 8 or so minutes left to play, I'd imagine there'll be 2 or 3 contenders. We won't confirm this at the moment, but there'll be 2 or 3 contenders, Dale.
Yeah, I think you look in the backs, and they've scored a lot of tries. They've got 7 tries in the backs, but the forwards have laid on a platform, and Ayrshire Bulls have actually made it really, really difficult to try and pick something. So we're going to have to kind of wait until the next kind of 3-4 minutes to see who's going to put their hand up and perhaps stand out from the bunch, because there's been a lot of good performances in there. Even Alex Maguire. It's not going to be him, but Alex Maguire. He's obviously he started really, really well. Big hooker. He's carried well, and he perhaps set the tone as well. But there's a lot of players out there, and even defensively, they are down to 14 men. Ayrshire Bulls are camped on their line, and they still are wanting to try and stop this team going through.
Another scrummage, set piece. Southern Knights then have been knocking at the door for a good 5 minutes, unable to breach the defence. They brought on some reinforcements, some fresh legs and fresh minds, but it's Lanark feeding the ball into the Ayrshire Bulls scrum, and getting the drive on. And remember, they're down a man. They're down a man in terms of Andrew Nimmo being yellow carded, watching on from the sidelines.
I've not Will Owen. Good from the referee to explain, to keep a little bit of humility here, because I've never seen like Will Owen, the loose head prop there was on his side. The power coming through from the Ayrshire Bulls, he was on his side and he's been driven back, and that is the depth of personnel that the Ayrshire Bulls have, and that was phenomenal to watch. The fact that we're 73 minutes on the clock and their pack, a man down, can still exert that much power.
Ayrshire Bulls then with the throw in outside of their 22. Rodri Tanner been very effective since coming off the bench as well. Another illustration, pan down Lanark very quickly onto Minogue, and once more the midfield getting involved. Lanark trying to launch himself onto that loose ball, but the referee has signalled a double knock on. Ayrshire Bulls first to have adjudged to have mishandled the ball on or close to the deck as it was going down there towards the artificial surface, and be another set piece opportunity just inside the Ayrshire Bulls half of the field, between the 10 and the 22, as further treatment being applied to Cammy Scott. Just
Cam, you okay?
couple of backroom assistants just round the inside centre at the moment, as the referee comes across just to check on Scott's well-being.
Yeah, he's a good player as well. Scott will be wanting to make sure that he's in good shape. You could see him shaking his hand when he was just moving away from the contact area, because he's obviously taken a sore one, and he's a very good playmaker. But with injuries between Chamberlain and Scott, it's you'll want to make sure they keep them nice and fit for the rest of the campaign.
Yeah, well, in terms of the man of the match, it was not easy, but I think in the end our FOSROC Super 6 player of the match this afternoon will be the Ayrshire Bulls blindside flanker Ryan Sweeney, the number 6, the man who scored the opening try 9 minutes into the first half. And well, there he's been one of the wounded this afternoon, as he's got a bit of cotton wool and tissue up the nose, but very much part of this Ayrshire Bulls emphatic display.
Yeah, I think in the forwards have had a lot of good performances. I think the front row have carried very well. They've interlinked very well. Maguire's got a try. In the backs, you look at McNamara's not got a try, but he's been able to set up a lot of tries for his teammates like Shed and Jordan and Tate, getting braces themselves. Christian Townsend has directed play, but he's only played about 50 minutes. He got a try. He's got a lot of conversions in there as well. But Ryan Sweeney, he got a try. He's carried well. He's defended well. He's went to the end. You can see the effort that he's put in. He's epitomised the intent and the intensity from the Ayrshire Bulls today. He is definitely head and shoulders above the rest of the players, and without him the players wouldn't get that ball on a plate and behind the scrum.
Yeah, it's not one of those occasions where you look around and you think there's many worthy players, particularly in that visiting side, that would go away delighted with the Player of the Match award. But this is better from the Southern Knights. This could well be consolation right at the end of the contest. A nice offload back end field there, and that was powerful running there from Aidan Cross down the left hand side on there towards Finn Campbell. Campbell was in some space inside the 22, but a fine pass here from Eddie Slater on then towards Cross, and you could see it was a long pass there just in front of the Ayrshire Bulls 20, Joe Knight, gathered there by Finn Campbell, and a fine score to end this, or almost end the contest. There's still 5 minutes left, of course, Dale. Yeah,
there's still a bit of rugby left to be played in this game, but it was better from the Southern Knights, and you can see there when there's parity in this scrum, they can get a platform that they can release the backs, but without that platform, they're not able to set these attacking plays up, and it was good. The Eddie Slater managing to spill the ball across to Cross, showing good pace, good strength and good awareness to get the ball back inside, and great tracking from the replacement scrum half Finn Campbell to track the run, get the ball and get over the line.
Chamberlain's kick then from out wide had an extra 2 points. Can they at least get 2 converted tries? Oh, unlucky off the uprights. We witnessed one from Townsend in the first half coming back off that left hand post. I think it was a little bit higher up than that, but this from an acute angle, and that's very unfortunate there from the Edinburgh professional. We mentioned 11 appearances for Edinburgh, 47 points. Well, they got one conversion this afternoon, 57 points to 12. But this will perhaps open a few eyes in terms of the FOSROC Super6 Sprint Series competition. The most emphatic win, certainly from a side away from home. But Amir Bears enjoying a very narrow victory at Stirling on Friday evening last night by 26 points to 25. Watsonians defeating Heriots by 34 points to 25 a little bit earlier on this afternoon. And this now the dying embers of the final contest this weekend at the Greenyards. Southern Knights 12, Ayrshire Bulls 57. A rare handling error there from the Bulls as the ball goes loose just behind the carriers. Picked up there by the player of the match, Ryan Sweeney, who plants the ball back now. Ball carriers coming in again, close as you see to that 10 metre line. Mopped up once more. Again, Southern Knights forced backwards as Ayrshire Bulls are happy to run from a deep line position. As they go in once more through Linac. Quickly through the hands there of Tim Brown, who is another player who's put in a power of work alongside his blindside flanker and player of the match in the form of Ryan Sweeney. That was an inviting kick there from Matt Minogue in the air, but a solid collision coming in. Billiwara once more in the war. So too is Ryan Sweeney. And another Southern Knights player down. I think he's picked up a knock to the left calf there. So there's a few in the wars just at the moment. A few war and wounded out there.
Yeah, I think it was probably the worst place to put a kick in, because the physios were on trying to attend to the Melrose player, but Sweeney has taken a dull one for his efforts as well, and Billy Wara's getting a bit of attention from Eddie Slater as I think the medical staff which are at the Greenyards this afternoon are perhaps spread a bit thin, because there's more players on the ground than there is attending to the players. But it shows all the players are going right to the wire. They all want to go to the end of the game and put in maximum effort, but certainly Ayrshire Bulls will be more looking towards kind of trying to maintain the personnel, but that doesn't look good for Sweeney as he's biting his wrist, obviously in a lot of discomfort down on the ground.
Yeah, coming down on that left leg and around the left knee area, as you can see that Sam Derrick, the Southern Knights, the first try scorer, he's been helped to his feet. So too Ryan Sweeney. Up he gets, a giant of a man, and he's going to be helped to the touchline. So the player of the match, receiving warm applause. His skipper comes down, Blair McPherson, from the front of the stand. He was subbed a little bit earlier on in the second half, and will help him towards the touchline, and so too leaving the field Sam Derrick as well. So it's good to see both players at least on their feet, and all due care and attention quite rightly given to these players as the second half draws to a close. Match underway once again, just past 6:15 on a Saturday evening. 57 points to 12, 2.5 minutes of the game left to play, and Russell Anderson is on for Sam Derrick. A replacement. Anderson really most notable as a hooker, but will just play further back, you'd imagine, in the concluding couple of minutes of this tie. Tie well and truly won. Ayrshire Bulls 57 points to 12 in front. Nice little grubber kick down towards the 22. Chases on, picked up there by Aidan Cross, scampering after it. Now 2 minutes of the contest left to play. The advantage coming back towards the section of pitch between the 10 and the 22.
You see Shedden just wanting a little shot there, just kicking it downfield and trying to make it a foot race, because there's a few players on the pitch which will be looking to chase the hat trick. You see him just coming at the picture there, just having a little conversation with Robert Beattie.
Yeah, those players, Jamie Shedden 2 tries, Tom Jordan 2 tries, perhaps got the pick of the bunch in terms of an individual score. Aaron Tate also with 2 tries, so they ping it towards the corner, but it's just a fraction inside the 22 and into the last 90 seconds of the match. And Ayrshire Bulls, this will be a pleasant journey back to Alloway this evening as they head back with maximum points from their visit to the Greenyards for the Southern Night side. A case of licking the wounds and getting ready for the next instalment, which will come in a week's time. One well in the air by Tim Brown in the line, looking to get the drive on. Once more a little bit stationary. Rodri Tanner, ball under his right arm, as you see just in the corner of the picture. There is the replacement hooker looking again to splinter away. Tackles coming in. That's a grounding tackle there from Wallace Nelson, and a bit of an up and under there on Jamie Shedden as it's been picked up by Lanark. On towards Tanner again. He tumbles down inside the 22. The pick and go once more as the Ayrshire Bulls very much on the go forward. 30 seconds of the tie left to play. Brown is able to pick up, taken on this time by Lanny. Lanny goes to deck. Lanark in behind once more, on towards Tanner, increasingly involved in this move in and around that 22. The clock about to go red. 10 seconds of the tie left to play. Have Ayrshire Bulls got another score left in them, as once more it's Minogue trying to battle his way towards the line. Replacement fly half, offload on towards Michael Scott, another one of the Ayrshire Bulls front row replacements in this second half. We've now played the full 80 minutes. Advantage coming the way of Ayrshire Bulls. Evading the challenge coming in there was Tim Brown. He goes to deck. Lanark hurdling the challenges on now towards Robert Beattie. Beattie then, remember, he was injured back in the side this afternoon. Nice offload on the deck there towards Lanny, and he's over for the score. And there was again a feeling that it was almost inevitable that the Ayrshire Bulls were going to find a score from some way, in some fashion. Jamie Shedden it is who finishes things off. You see he was in position there on the deck. The ball handed to him by Tom Lanny. Lanny didn't finish it himself. He was able to offload to James Shedden, and Shedden's the player in for the try. So he has a hat-trick right on the stroke of full time. And Dale Clancy, it's been quite the afternoon for the Alloway men. Some of these players that have played as Ayrshire, as Ayr players against Melrose players, would never have imagined in years gone by they'd rack up 62 points.
And I think that man who was playing for Margin this season, I thought he got a hat-trick on debut for the Ayrshire Bulls, and you know, it's just a phenomenal effort. Like he's not had to work incredibly hard for his tries. He's not had to beat 3 men and go over in the corner, but he's got that killer instinct. He just knows where to be. He was trying to clear a ruck there, and then ended up in the fortuitous position that he could get the offload and go over for the score. So this is a huge marker that the Ayrshire Bulls have put down, and that would have been the cherry on top of the cake, but just drifts wide. And you know, what an effort from the Ayrshire Bulls, and they have brushed aside the Southern Knights with ease.
And they've left a few points on the pitch, a couple of conversions just wide of the uprights, as you can see there. 62 points to 12 then the final score, and this was simply emphatic. Ayrshire Bulls coming out on top handsomely, and you felt that the game was beyond the Southern Knights even with half an hour on the clock.
Yeah, I think you're totally right. I think when it got to about the 20-minute mark, when it was 19-0, you kind of looked thinking, where's this game going to end up? Because Ayrshire Bulls were relentless. They were direct, they were powerful, they were pacey, they were accurate, and they were really clinical. So when you've got a team who are like that, no matter how well you're playing or how bad you're playing, it doesn't matter, because Ayrshire Bulls were in the ascendancy all afternoon. They never ever gave up. They never let up as well. So no matter what position Southern Knights were in before the game, it wouldn't have mattered. They could have been top of the table. They would have still probably had that scoreline because of the sheer class and the clinical nature of Ayrshire Bulls' afternoon's work.
Now you think back to the last campaign, of course Ayrshire Bulls contested the final at the Dam Health with the Ayrshire Bulls, and the Southern Knights losing out to Ayrshire Bulls in the final back in October at the end of the regulation FOSROC season, as it was concluded for the first time back at the end of 2021. Now those two sides went, there was some parity there, they went toe to toe together. It was difficult to see which side would necessarily come out on top then. You fast forward the best part of 8 months, there's been a lot more upheaval at the Southern Knights, in terms of coaching staff moving on, players moving on. You felt that if any side was perhaps going to take a little bit of time to get into a groove, to become a cohesive unit, to really build an understanding, it was going to be them. And this is maybe an illustration of how much work they've still got to do.
I don't know about the goings on, what happens at Southern Knights, but on the outside looking in, you can seldom stand still in professional and semi-professional sport. Never mind take a backward step, and it looks like that is what's happened with the Southern Knights. It's almost as if they've just went back a step and they're going to have to rebuild again, because the outlook of their whole team has changed dramatically. And what they've lost, other teams have gained in little sections. So some teams have got players who were in a final of the Super 6 last year. So other players likes of Cam Jones, who was instrumental in dictating the pace of play. Ayrshire Bulls have benefited from him. So all they've done is they've retained the nucleus of their squad and added to it. So the Southern Knights have a lot of work to do, but don't kid yourself to think that they're not aware of that, because this place, the Greenyards, this institution of Scottish rugby, they're used to winning, and they'll find a way to get back to winning, but they're just going to have to do it. It's going to take a little bit longer, but they're going to have to find a way to do it, and perhaps working with the clubs round about them, but they're going to have to find a way to make it the best version of the Southern Knights that they can possibly put out in the field.
Yeah, they clearly have a game plan that they want to try and stick to, and as I say, this particular competition by its very structure might be the makings of them come the second half of the year, when the full FOSROC competition does resume. But this sprint series has thrown up quite an emphatic victory this afternoon, 62 points to 12. A victory for the Ayrshire Bulls against the Southern Knights. Let's take a look back at some of the finest moments then across the 80 minutes, and this was 9 minutes into the contest. And this was our player of the match, Ryan Sweeney, mopping things up. Jones with the pass, Sweeney positioning himself well, and the blindside flanker in for the first of a number of tries for his side today. Yeah,
he set the tone. That's exactly what we've seen all afternoon. We've seen white shirts bouncing black shirts off of them, and he bundled his way over the whitewash for a score, and he was phenomenal. I hope his injury is not too bad and he's able to freshen up and he'll be ready for the weeks to come. Obviously we get a week's rest, but we'll be hoping he's back the week after. But then from then it just the floodgates opened and Townsend just managed to step in and go for another score.
And that was just 2 minutes later. You're receiving the pass again from Jones. Townsend just sidestepping Fraser Rennick, the Southern Knights skipper, in underneath the posts, and that was 14 points to 0, or it was by the time he landed this conversion from straight in front of the sticks. This, from an individual's point of view, perhaps the pick of the bunch there, the determination and strength of Tom Jordan, running in from a good 40 metres out, evading several challenges coming from the likes of Billy Wara and Nathan Chamberlain. And again, he was initially around the first man, Wallace Nelson, and just too powerful to stop. and in for a score. That was the third try, and you felt at that stage, 19 points to nil, that Southern Knights needed to respond quickly. Well, they did through Chamberlain, this fine piece of running, finding Cameron Scott at inside centre, and Scott's pass out to Sam Derrick, and Derrick not underneath the post, but making it a bit easier for Nathan Chamberlain to at least add a further 2 points and change the complexion of the scoreline somewhat. 19-7 it would be at this stage.
Yeah, Chamberlain was a bright spark in the Southern Knights back division. He's shows his experience and his level of ability. He was obviously he was able to add the extras, but just in the right position, and his balance of running was able to unlock the defence and go from there. But we can see the battle wounds of the man of the match, Ryan Sweeney, just being carted towards the display for the FOSROC Super 6. So perhaps a little sweetener for his injury. It
will be. I know that I'm quite sure the man will just want to sit down or at least work off the injury there, but I'm sure they'll be delighted that his efforts have not gone unnoticed this afternoon. The FOSROC Super 6 player of the match, and a broad smile despite the pain. The pain continues certainly for the Southern Knights, and at close quarters. The recycling of the ball here once more. Townsend just supplying the pass this time on towards Jordan, and Jordan in for another try, but quickly recycled ball. This was a common theme with Jones sniping away at 9 all the time.
This is it. Pace, ball's there, let's get it through the hands, give it to your 10, and then you've got the 12 running off the shoulder. The defence just can't get round. That's it. It's simple rugby. The defence can't get round the breakdown quick enough to cover the space.
And it just continued as the Southern Knights again had no answer to the power of the likes of Calvin Henderson and Alex Maguire. Maguire in for a try, close towards that line, again creeping ever closer towards half time, and you felt that half time wasn't going to come just quickly enough for the Southern Knights. But further damage, number 8, bit of architect work here from McPherson, out towards the left hand side, and some power shown this time by Jamie Shedden, scoring the first of his 3 tries. Again taking the pass from McNamara, and Shedden was able just to power his way past the try there, the try saving tackle from Billy Wara.
He's got great spatial awareness. He's a really impressive winger, and he's able to know where he needs to be. But this was perhaps one of the best well-worked tries, straight out at the traps after half-time. The great interlinking play there from Maguire. He was able to find a running Tom Jordan, who was close to getting man of the match himself. He was able to just get round the corner, release Tate, and Tate scampered in for a score.
Yeah, used width to good effect this afternoon, the Ayrshire Bulls. Not just the power of the forwards, and Townsend keeping the scoreboard ticking over. No penalty goal attempts at all during the course of the match, and despite it going under the legs of Beattie, McNamara was in position to feed Shedden once more, and this time he was in the left hand corner down the other end of the park to score another try, and he was increasingly showing just how much of a sniper he is. Quite the debut for the youngster on the wing. Another piece of powerful running from McNamara, the fullback. Offload towards Tate. Tate backed himself there. Had Beattie. Perhaps Beattie was annoyed that he didn't offload towards the outside centre, but he wasn't going to cough up that opportunity to score again.
No, a great fend there from McNamara. He was splitting the defence all afternoon, and he's a great attacking exponent from fullback, and able just to find the winger on the touchline. Tate going in for his second try, and this was a peach of a conversion as well, just from the touchline. Minogue just managing to split the kindling from the touchline.
Southern Knights, though, well, here was the opportunity for them. Aidan Cross with a very, very well worked offload there, left-handed. Again, it was taken on at pace by Eddie Slater on towards Cross. Cross couldn't finish it off himself, but was able to spin round a strong left hand and was able to offload there for Finn Campbell, who was racing in to score. And then how about this? Here's the hat-trick for Jamie Shedden. Again, it looked at first glance that it might be the number 22 that was going to finish things off, but his offload ended up finding Shedden, and Shedden was in for his hat-trick of tries practically on the final whistle to give us the scoreline at the bottom of the screen. Ayrshire Bulls 62, Southern Knights 12. Emphatic performance away from home. Watsonians earlier on this afternoon at Meggetland defeating Heriots by 34 points to 25 at a neutral venue, and Stirling County 25, Boroughmuir Bears 26 set us off in round 4. That game played at Bridgehawk last night, and a first win for Graham Shields' men on the road, a first win in the Sprint Series competition. So how does that change the complexion of this league table? Well, it's been a fascinating 4 rounds of competition so far, and Watsonians have been consistent on top, 18 points from the 4 games played. Bulls move up to second place as well with that emphatic bonus point win this afternoon. Southern Knights still rock bottom now, 6 points adrift of Boroughmuir Bears, and Stirling and Heriots remain in mid-table.
Yeah, I think it's a straight shootout, isn't it, between Heriots and Stirling County for that third place. Obviously, that cuts Boroughmuir Bears out with this result. They can't catch Stirling County. They can't get up to third place, but a straight shootout between Heriots and Stirling County to see who's going to be fitting in the top 3. And then, again, the teams below that, certainly Boroughmuir and Southern Knights, will have to just compose themselves, get back to normal, and try and see if they can make anything left of this campaign. But what a performance from Ayrshire Bulls, and they're certainly put a marker down to the likes of Watsonians, who are unbeaten, to say that they're not out of the race yet.
The Bulls very much on the rampage this afternoon down at the Greenyards, doing a fair bit of collateral damage as well. 62 points to 12, an emphatic win for the Pete Horn brother. Well, Pete Horn and his brother George. I was going to see the Pete Horn brothers
playing tonight.
We'll need to give George a first name credit as well. Round 5, of course, comes next weekend. Boroughmuir Bears at home to the Southern Knights. It's the bottom 2 sides. Ayrshire Bulls up against Watsonians, Stirling County against Heriots, and you'll be looking for responses from these sides. Bulls to try and carry on this fine form, and what a match it's going to be against a Watsonians team top of the table, but also Southern Knights to try and hit mark against Boroughmuir Bears.
Yeah, we do get a little rest. It's a 2 week. In 2 weeks' time, it's going to be the final round, the 5th round of fixtures before the split, and that's going to be a big tie on the Friday night. The Boroughmuir Bears taking on the Southern Knights will be an opportunity for the Southern Knights to perhaps right a few wrongs, but Boroughmuir Bears can continue their momentum from their win away from home as well. But the other ones, the top 4 teams, all play each other, and I think all eyes will certainly be on the bottom fixture there, the final fixture in the round 5 list of fixtures between Stirling County and Heriots. Rugby, Heriots got to travel away from home to go to Bridgehawk to try and get their place in the top 3. So it's going to be a really interesting last round of fixtures in the FOSROC Super 6 Sprint Series. Certainly all to play for, and it's going to be interesting. We've still got things up for grabs.
Coming, as Dale was saying, the weekend beginning the 20th of May. But from the Greenyards, from myself, Stuart McFarlane, and from Dale Clancy, thank you very much for watching, and it's the Bulls very much on the rampage this afternoon, winning 62-12 at the Greenyards.